If you love Star Wars and love the excitement of chasing your favorite Star Wars collectibles, the Star Wars Digital Card Trader Collecting app from Topps is for you. Download the free app from iTunes or Google Play and collect your favorite images from the classic 1977 Star Wars cards to the Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, The Force Awakens, and much more. Collect and trade with friends new and old through the Star Wars Digital Card Trader Collecting app from Topps. These are the cards you're looking for.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are, with Dan Z and Corey Clubb, the podcast you're looking for. This is. Yes.
For an entire generation, people have experienced Star Wars the only way it's been possible, on the TV screen. But if you've only seen it this way, you haven't seen it at all.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
We've been waiting for you.
The force is strong here, even stronger than the coffee.
At last! Where have you been?
Welcome to Coffee with Kenobi. Here are your hosts, Dan Z and Corey Clubb.
Welcome to show number 63 of Coffee with Kenobi, a Star Wars podcast that analyzes our favorite saga in a whole new way. I'm Dan Z, and with me is my good friend and co-host, Corey Clubb.
Hello to all our CWK family. It's January of 2017, and Coffee with Kenobi is looking forward to discussing the news and announcements leading up to Episode 8, bringing you in-depth coverage of Celebration Orlando and much more. We want to thank all our CWK Patreon contributors for helping to make that possible. Jason Hall, Dennis Keithley, Angela Souse, Mediocre Jedi, Adam Leonard, Christopher Ripley, Swara Swalhi, Gerard Cantor, BJ Smith, Eric Strothers, Nick DiCo, Aaron Harris, Mark Suter, and Mike Audette for their contributions to our Coffee with Kenobi Patreon page. If you would like to be a Patreon contributor, check out our webpage or show notes for all the incredible perks and swag awaiting you.
In today's show, the Mike Pilot returns to discuss our topic for show number 63, how Rogue One adds to the mythology of Star Wars. We also look at Han Solo casting announcements, celebration news, including Star Wars Galactic Nights, and Nick DiCo discusses Star Wars video games, and Jason Brame is back to bring the latest info on the canonical Star Wars.
In our collector's news, look at Galen Erso action figure announcement and discuss Star Wars Bluetooth speakers and the Geek Fuel subscription box. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite coffee mug, and let's have some coffee with Kenobi.
And now, let's see what's brewing in the Star Wars universe this week.
Oh, wait. This is interesting.
You found something.
I'm about to let everyone in on the secret.
We have some breaking news here at Coffee with Kenobi. As you all know, we were getting ready to release this show, and what happens? We get the title, Corey, for Episode 8. Just boom, it just shows up, doesn't it?
It does, and it's like lightning. They drop these kind of items on us and out of the middle of nowhere, and I love it. I really do, because it fires me up, gets me excited, and gives me something to talk about for the next few months or so. It's a lot of fun.
I'll say it's so. Tell me your overall thoughts. Just what does this mean? I mean, I think there's a lot of imagery in a very little thing. There
is, and we'll announce it here real quick. It's Star Wars: The Last Jedi. For those folks who haven't seen the social media outbursts of us and friends and community and whatnot, and the official word from StarWars.com. So it's all official. And I think what's interesting too, because I as a fan am apprehensive from looking online at stuff, because there's so much like quote unquote fake news out there as far as Star Wars stuff or upcoming actors being in films, and it's not necessarily always confirmed. And so I'm always like, okay, is it official? I want to know and make sure that I can kind of celebrate and enjoy this. So I mean, the way I got it was through a text and from you, Dan, and our good friend Jeff, our little chat hangout. And it's like you said, you mentioned before we got on the air here, it's nice to get it from a friend rather than just just kind of perusing the internet and finding it. But it's like, hey, check out the latest news. It's like hanging out with your buddies after school, or hang out at the coffee shop, if you will, and talk about Star Wars and picking up on something new. And this was exactly that for me. And to me, there's so much that goes into this. I've been talking about it all day. And on our show, we don't like to speculate, so I'm trying not to speculate too much. But I think overall, I love the title. I instantly got excited for it. And the red around the Star Wars outline there gives it that darker feel, that ominous feel to me, opposed to the yellow that we had for A Force Awakens. And, The Last Jedi, it just says so much. I mean, I don't want to speculate, but I also can't help but speculate.
I think I can give you some peace with that.
Okay.
Because Jedi is both singular and plural.
That's right.
So it says a lot without saying anything, which is my favorite thing about what Star Wars and Lucasfilm do with the publicity.
That's right.
The red does stand out to me because the last episode in each trilogy, Revenge of the Sith and Return of the Jedi, had red as well.
Yeah.
For the pre-excitement that went into those movies and the average, the media blitz that was those two films. So that's cool. And this is the second movie, and usually the second movie is darker. I don't know if definitely Attack of the Clones was not darker than Revenge of the Sith. There's no doubt about that. But
there's a downtrodden theme to it. I mean, like,
what's that?
There's a downtrodden theme to it. I mean, like, kind of the height of what's going on. That's going to spark the next, era or the next, point in this saga. And this is. I would think that this is it. They're running with the same, themes and such as we've seen in the other movies. This is going to have it, I would hope. But like you said, just thinking back to Attack of the Clones and Empire, the second movie in those trilogies, people are getting limbs cut off. There's big, huge reveals. There's all kinds of stuff coming into play and revealed in those films. So I would really hope that this too has that same grandioso.
Well, I think it's definitely going to happen. I think the interesting thing about this is it feels ominous. But what do you think about the actual title itself, The Last Jedi? Is that underwhelmed, overwhelmed? I mean, I remember we heard The Force Awakens. I was so blown away. That exceeded the hype machine that was internal, a little gerbil that runs inside that gets you excited about Star Wars.
Fell off the wheel.
It's kind of a weird metaphor, I guess. But this is, I got to be honest. I mean, I like it, but I don't know. It feels mythological, but it also feels very, I guess, final. I don't know. It kind of makes me feel a little empty. And to be fair, maybe nothing will make me feel like I did when I heard The Force Awakens. I mean, I guess when I heard Attack of the Clones, that didn't blow me away either. But think about the second in each of these movies. The Empire Strikes Back. It's got a negative connotation, striking. Attack of the Clones, it's violent. The Last Jedi, the last thing would be, swimming with the fishes.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's, I have zero idea about what that means. It's just, I don't know. I guess I wanted something a little more mythological in the etymology here instead of just Last Jedi. But I don't know. I guess it's mythological in its own way.
Well, the other thing too, it's like you said, it's not necessarily an action. It's the finalization of a sense. But in context, our minds jump to who it may be, who they're speaking about, if it's an individual person, if it's as a group of people. And again, it's so hard not to speculate on this end, and like we don't like to do, because we don't want to put a lot of mix-up out there for folks, and it got people, confused of what really is going on. And my own head thinks back to Return of the Jedi and the return of a Jedi. And Luke states that I'm a Jedi like my father before me, and makes me think a Jedi like my father before me was the last Jedi, someone else that we have yet to see in this series, since the Force Awakens, a figurehead that's outside of some of the characters we've met. So I'm thinking big picture. I'm not thinking just a singular person, I guess, in my own mind. And again, like you said, I try not to say names if I can help it, but everyone thinks it's gonna be Luke in some minds, and I think the casual viewer would think it would be Luke, having just maybe seen The Force Awakens. A friend of mine had just seen Force Awakens for the first time the other day. We were talking about it, and he was excited about Luke Skywalker and what happens next. We got talking about this today, He said, "Oh, it's probably Luke, isn't it?" And I said, "I don't know. Nobody knows."
I mean, no, why wouldn't it be Rey?
Well, right, exactly. And the other thing in my head is it's like I said, is it speaking to someone who's in the past that we all know of, that we all care about, and then being a Jedi that's they're talking about in this instance. So the legacy of a sense of someone. So there's so many. That's what makes it so much fun about this title. It's mysterious. It raises questions, gets you thinking, and like you said, Dan, I think all in all, I think it's a fun title. It really flows with the overall storyline. It's not jumping into something like a Rogue One or some kind of other type of title. That's what I think too. I like about Disney and Lucasfilm. They're showing us things that are like, hey, this is definitely a Skywalker centric storyline. We're dealing with Jedi again. We're looking at this longevity factor too. Like I said, the Last Jedi. Is it something that's going to happen in here that promotes another character to move ahead with something? I don't know, and I'm trying to dance around the edges of speculation, but I think at this point it throws a lot more questions out there than answers. But I'm ready for it, and again, I love the title. I think it's a lot of fun.
So there isn't even a slight part of you that feels like, okay, that's cool, but it just seems sort of bland.
I don't think so. I mean, it's easy to say, take out the A and call it the Lost Jedi. Does that make it change it for you? Or
actually.
But we all know who the Lost Jedi is from A Force Awakens was Luke, and eventually we mentioned. Remember in the crawl itself, it says he's the Last Jedi, so it's right there in front of our eyes. And
true.
So it's like obviously people are going to go right to that and think, okay, we're talking about him. So this is maybe this is a Luke-centric episode that we're going to see. Maybe not necessarily, like I said, a finalization of a character, but maybe, this is going to be very centered on what is going on with Luke. Because obviously we only saw him for a moment's notice at the end of episode 7. So, this is very centric to him, very circular to him and what's going on in his world. And maybe not so much some of the other characters we met originally in Force Awakens.
Well, and maybe that's my initial trepidation, the fact that I don't want to know what's going to happen. But this is Lucasfilm, this is Star Wars. They're excellent at not letting you know what's going to happen. So again, it tells you a lot without telling you anything. If there's one thing to be super pumped about, I mean, how could Luke Skywalker not be a focal point? So that's amazing, and I'm very much looking forward to Celebration for a lot of reasons, but hopefully we'll get another trailer experience like we did for The Force Awakens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now we sort of know what to expect, and I don't know if we'll have to run off and record a show instantly like we did last time. But I'm ready.
Yeah, me too.
So be it, man.
Yeah, let it be. One more thought I had as well today. Just tying up into other fandoms that we enjoy as well. I mean, you mentioned, Luke, who he kind of has that. I mean, to me, this is his tagline, The Last Jedi. So think of Batman, The Dark Knight, Superman, The Man of Steel. So it's kind of that essence, I think, when I think about it. It's a tagline, or it's a different key phrase for a beloved hero or a character we love. And maybe I'm completely wrong. I'm just kind of going with what I know from facts from beyond, and I don't know if that changes it for you at all, or does anything for you.
What do you mean? Like how?
Well, I mean, it's like saying if you were to see a film that was Batman: The Dark Knight. We know, okay, that's just his title. That's how people see him. He's the Dark Knight. The villains see him as this. This is someone's other faction of a character. They see him as the Last Jedi. So someone else is pronouncing this title to this character. That makes sense, rather than that character taking on that title. So, you look up in the sky, it's a bird of prey, it's the Man of Steel, Superman. It's someone else giving that title to someone else, that character, rather than that character taking on that title. That makes sense.
It does. So basically, are we passing the torch here? That's. I mean, it couldn't have been more metaphorical at the end of The Force Awakens, now could it?
Very true. Very true.
Interesting. Always in motion, the future is. So we are excited. Let us know. We've been posting about it online. And by the way, we do have a brand spanking new website that he and I have been working on. Corey and I have been working on for a long time. Wheels have been in motion for a while, and we did it. And how fortuitous that we released our new website, revamped website, Coffee with Kenobi 2.0, if you will.
Sure.
And it's the same day they announced The Last Jedi.
Yeah, that's cool.
We were I wish I could say that we knew that was going to happen. We didn't, but we will take it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the other thing too, Dan, is like, we're trying to do our best to upgrade, stuff that we have and bring you guys the best, and be able to kind of get everything in one spot and make it sparkle and shine and, slap some orange on it, if you will. Call it our own. But we have a lot more coming out, a lot more in the works. I think Dan's got some ideas. I got some ideas. We've gone back and forth. So 2017 is shaping up to be pretty dang good. So bring it on, right?
Amen. For our first news story, a bit of a big explosion on the Star Wars scene, I would say, Mr. Club. Woody Harrelson himself is joining the Han Solo movie. And you and I... You tried to get me to talk about this because you and I and Jeff McGee had quite the text thread going on, but I purposely avoided it and didn't weigh in because I knew we were going to talk about it on this show. So tell me what you think about this.
This is unique for me. I love Woody Harrelson. He is a great actor. He's come kind of from humble beginnings, I think, and really rose to become an A-list star in my respects, I guess. He plays unique characters. He has a huge range from dramatic roles to comedy roles. So he's really got a wide range to be able to do all kinds of different action pieces and be able to kind of mold himself into whatever needs are possible.
So so you say you like him. What does he? I mean, I think the biggest thing that most current film fans know of would probably be The Hunger Games, where he's Haymitch. But he's been around for a long time. I mean, I know him, of course, as do many people, from Cheers, which I absolutely love. I loved him in that. I love that role. I loved what he brought to it, and he's shown a lot of diversity. No Country for Old Men I have not seen. I need to see that. But he was huge in True Detective, Zombieland. He's pretty big in. He's just. I think of him also, by the way, as White Men Can't Jump. That's kind of a darker film. It really was. That wasn't. Yeah.
Well, you're talking about a lot of different films, a lot of different genres he's been into. So being kind of the Joker and the wild man, like we see in Kingpin, it's unique.
I love that movie.
I think it really shows that he can break a mold and just do what needs to be done.
He's a good bowler, apparently. Is there anything funnier than that movie than when Bill Murray's hair when they're golfing?
The best. I think he grows bigger. Is it kind of unfurled and
it kind of swirls around? Well, the reason we bring that up, besides the fact that it's fun, is that Phil Lord and Christopher Miller are the directors of the Han Solo, young Han Solo film, as people are labeling it these days. And the quote that the directors say is, his ability to find both humor and pathos, often in the same role, is truly unique. He's also very good at ping pong. So wonderfully random, right? That's just sort of why I think this is good. But there were some parts about this, and I sort of glanced, like I said, at your texting thread. But is there something about this that makes you trepidatious?
It does. I mean, I think I'm coming into it as Han Solo as a character, and it's almost like the guy you don't touch in a sense of a fictional character.
Like MC Hammer?
Yes, can't touch this. Good point. And it's one of those characters I think that has play such homage to. I mean, everybody looks back to, he's a Han Solo character. He's really become this icon in film history. And to do a film about Han Solo, interesting because don't want to get it wrong, right? It's something that's sacred almost in my respects and what I think. And we're adding obviously a new actor and a young actor who I haven't seen too much work of playing Han Solo himself. But then to add in A-list actor like Woody Harrelson, and obviously Donald Glover is great. I'm sorry, Donald Glover. Yeah,
you're right.
Okay, I was thinking
Danny Glover.
Danny Glover.
You were thinking Lethal Weapon.
I was thinking
I'm too old for this. Yeah.
And Emilia Clarke from Game of Thrones. I mean, these some high-profile folks and you put them, you kind of see them in the roles they are used to playing. What I liked most about Rogue One was a lot of the actors I didn't know who they were. They're kind of new to me as a fan, and I got to see them kind of blossom on the screen to the characters that I now love. So to know that Woody Harrelson comes from such a plethora of different movies and genres, it makes it feel goofy to me to have him in a mentoring role.
You're afraid that Woody Harrelson is going to be on screen and all you're going to see is Woody Harrelson.
Yes. Yeah.
When you saw The Phantom Menace, did you see Liam Neeson or did you see Qui-Gon Jinn?
See, at that point, I don't know if I was necessarily... Like, Liam Neeson wasn't Liam Neeson, I'm going to find you, I'm going to kill you, Liam Neeson. This is Liam Neeson that was kind of coming up. Yeah, but I mean, that was back in like 1989, and I
99.
99, yeah. It wasn't necessarily like I wasn't in grips of the film industry like I am now. Like, I don't see actors as I don't see the big line of work. Back then, I was just kind of still like a teenager and a kid, and like coming to understand actors in a sense. I mean, I think I knew maybe Ewan McGregor was the only actor I knew could pull out who they were, and I mean, I don't know, it just didn't click with me like Woody Harrelson.
I think I can help you with this.
Okay.
Taken came out in 2008, so that makes sense why you wouldn't have seen that or thought of it that way. But think about this: when you watch Raiders of the Lost Ark. Do you see Han Solo, do you see Indiana Jones, or do you see Harrison Ford?
It's Indiana Jones.
Yeah. When you see The Force Awakens or Return of the Jedi, do you see Indiana Jones, Han Solo, or Harrison Ford?
Han Solo.
Okay, so what's the commonality here? The guy's a good actor. Woody Harrelson's a good actor.
Right.
I know you know that he's a good actor.
Sure.
But I don't think you're going to see that. I mean, at first it's going to hit you, but even in the prequels, when you saw Sam Jackson, I mean, that guy's, I think, has he been in every movie since 1998?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, do you see him all the time? Sometimes you do, but not really. I mean, he's got he takes on a lot of different roles. And Woody Harrelson, I think what's unique about him is he's not just a character actor. He's also an actor. Like, he can play some eccentric, mentor in the Hunger Games, or some goofy guy disguising himself as an Amish person in Kingpin. And then he can play a very dark role as a detective in True Detective, the HBO series with Matthew McConaughey. I think he'll be fine. If anything, I'm wondering what's going to happen with Han Solo having a mentor. I guess that only makes sense. To be honest, I'm a little more, my eyebrows a little more raised at Emilia Clarke over Woody Harrelson, just because she's pretty much such a genre-specific person anyway. But, I mean, these are all names that are good actors. And honestly, as we've said, there have been no missteps since Disney purchased Lucasfilm. I mean, Force Awakens and Rogue One are both in the top 10 films in the United States of all time.
Yeah.
Rogue One is closing in on $1 billion. The Force Awakens is one of the most, one of the best financially earning films of all time worldwide. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I respect what you're saying, but I think, I don't know. I think when you see the first trailer, you'll probably say, oh, okay, this is amazing. He may end up being one of your favorites.
That's the thing too. I love him as an actor, and like you said, he's one of those actors to me. He pops up on screen, and I go, oh look, there's Woody Harrelson, and then obviously I get to know the character he's playing, and I don't want to be drawn out of the film in a sense where I just see Woody Harrelson, like you said, and maybe it is the role that he's playing, the mentor role of Han Solo. It maybe strikes me the wrong way. I'm thinking like, oh, Han Solo has no mentors. It just seems like in my mind I have built this memory up of what Han Solo has come to be.
Yeah, we're protective.
Well, it's like any other franchise. We would, a Superman, a Wolverine. You have that fandom going in, thinking, oh, he's like this to me. You see it on screen, it's a little bit different. Hugh Jackman's, over 6 feet tall, and you're going, Wolverine's no 6 foot tall. But it's I think Hugh Jackman to me is Wolverine now. He's, that's how I see him as. I couldn't see someone else play him. So what throws me off in the beginning is they're making a Han Solo film. They're bringing in these wonderful actors. I mean, I don't have much to say about these actors in general. I love all of them. I think they do such a great job. I think the cast itself is shaping up really, really sharply. It's going to look look great, but I'm excited to see what happens. But I just it's almost like going almost too A-list to me a little bit. I want them to kind of shuffle down in that B, C list and really let some characters and actors grow into, these wonderful heroes.
I mean, Woody Harrelson, he's definitely a top-notch actor, but when I think of A-list, I think of, George Clooney Tom Cruise, Tom Hanks.
Well, A-list, these are the guys that are blockbusters no matter what. Woody
Harrelson, it's not like you go to movies because you're a Woody Harrelson guy. You go to movies because you want to be entertained, or you want to see Harrison Ford or, Robert Redford back in the day, or someone like that. I mean, look at Sir Alec Guinness. He was about one of the biggest, most beloved stars in the planet, and he went on in this little independent film made by an up-and-comer named George Lucas. And,
how'd that do, by the way? Was that a good film?
I think it was all right. Yeah. I think that's why we're here right now.
Oh, is that? Okay.
I think so. And he's, that's what he's thought of. Sure. Well after he's passed on. So, I don't know. We're probably starting to ramble a little bit. And that's fine, because I think we are all protective of Han Solo. We're protective of Star Wars, but Han Solo is just something very special about him. I've often said that one of the things that was missing from the prequels, which again I love, is that Han Solo wasn't in them. So I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be pretty cool. Well, I'm so excited about Episode 8, to be honest.
I was going to say, it was so far off. We have Episode 8 next. We're just gearing up, and this is just announcements coming out that we're excited for all this stuff. So it's fun to talk about, and I think there's, like you said, there's much more to come. So Dan, obviously, 2017 is a big year for us as a podcast. We're growing. Things are happening. There's a lot of events coming up. One of the biggest events is Star Wars Celebration Orlando, happening in April. And another aspect to that is a lot of different events are going on. Obviously, it's run by Disney. They just put on a great show, I think, and they have a wonderful thing coming out April 14th during celebration called Galactic Nights. So it's something that they put on. I think it's something new. I have never heard of it in past years.
It's brand new. It's brand new
to folks that are looking to get in the park and do some fun activities.
What do you think about it? I guess we should say what it's about for people who don't know. There's a lot going on. It's basically after hours. And one of the things that the Disney parks, especially Disney World in Orlando, are doing is they're having big ticket events that are happening after hours. So there's an extra fee attached to this stuff. Now, before we talk about the fee, here's there's a little taste on tap of what's going on. And this is from the Disney Parks blog, which we will, of course, have in the show notes. But there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 activities listed. Not to mention the fact that we still got the Star Wars launch bay and Star Tours The Adventure Continues.
Right. And Disney itself. droids, all kinds of merchandise, which that's kind of enough for me to want to go. But here's what we got. They got the Rebel Base activities, which is the event hub. With multiple events, hosted shows, Star Wars dance parties, and more. And I'm pretty sure that Star Wars show will be there too. Yeah, it's cool.
So that's cool. But that'll be a celebration, but still.
Yep. Well, next they've got the Watch Inside the Saga celebrity chat show. So that's unique in itself because ding ding celebrity, who's going to be there? We don't know. It could be anybody.
I know. It could be you.
Okay, I'm not telling. But like you said, there's so many fun things to do there, and to catch a celebrity would be very cool.
It would. They've also got Star Wars photo ops, which is, I'm assuming, similar to what they did with Star Wars weekends.
Okay.
Pour our coffee out for that one. That was good stuff. But there's little backdrops everywhere with Han and Carbonite, Jabba's Palace, the little Hoth Wampa Cave. I'm sure people will be standing on their hands for that one. And then you've got the Galactic Night Stars and Cars Motorcade. This is pretty much how the Hollywood Studios does parades anyway, with people sitting in little convertibles and cars driving around and character things. What else you got?
They got the Imperial March and March of the First Orders. I think they've done a couple of these things during the park events. They have the Become a Jedi, and they have a couple of folks that will parade around. I think I've seen some YouTube videos of Captain Phasma and some stormtroopers marching around. It looks like it'd be kind of fun to. I don't know if you'd be interactive with the folks doing that smart little parade, but it'd be kind of fun for.
That's what they do with the launch bay right now.
Okay, yeah, that's what I figured.
Then Yeah, and they've got the Seeds of Saga interactive scavenger hunt. That is actually very fun. When I worked back in the day, they had the Goofy Mysteries, and after hours, they had like a big dance party, and then they had a scavenger hunt, and everybody wore matching purple shirts with Goofy on them, and you had to go around the park.
Is it harder at night?
Yeah, it was at night, but it was only for cast members at the time. And you had to go around and ask. There were people there, and you had to ask them questions, and they'd give you clues, and you had a map, and you had to figure stuff out. It was an absolute blast. And then the last two things, I think, they have the Galaxy Far, Far Away is basically clips of the film with characters on stage, which, that's fine. Some people love that. I'm not necessarily going to run to the front of the stage for that one, but I appreciate the appeal. The last one, though, and I remember what you said in a text, which I'll let you decide if you want to explain it or not, about the fireworks.
Yeah, I'll be honest. My family and I have been to Disney numerous times. We're going in a little under a week, over a week. Sorry, about 10 days or so. We're very excited, and they have some of the best best fireworks, period. Really, honestly, around the world, all their facilities, they've got fireworks shows that go off every single night. And they're the best. It's like 4th of July on steroids. And there's light shows going on. There's they'll tell a story. They'll have characters up there doing stuff. And every different park is different. So in this essence, they're having a Star Wars Galactic Spectacular. Like you said, it's obviously a giant fireworks display. Now, when we go down there during the fireworks, that's our time to hey, let's set some rides up. One of the best ones to ride is People Movers, because you can see the fireworks as you're going around.
I love that too.
It's pretty cool. So that's kind of our plan this time around. But other folks are different, and people love to sit and watch, and the story as it unfolds and what goes on there. So to me, I'm not a huge fireworks person. I can take it or leave it type thing. So
it's too loud for your ears.
My eyes. It's my eyes, really.
Oh wow.
No, I'm kidding. It's just it's fireworks. It's whoop-de-doo. I hate to say it that way, but it's nothing that's I can't see on 4th of July for free when I look up at the sky. But okay, here's the thing. Our friend Scott that's been on the show a couple times in studio on occasion, he saw the Star Wars fireworks, and he said it is absolutely the best fireworks he's ever seen, and he's not like a big overhyping kind of person anyway. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just, okay, let's just be honest. What's the big hang up for this? How much does it cost?
So, it's going to be, let's see, cost ticket holders $129 for adults and $124 for children under the age of 9. And looks if you're part of Disney Vacation Club or a season pass holder, you have discounts available. Just look into that. I got some information on the site there. We'll post that up.
Now, here's the difference, and we're going to be honest on all of this stuff, as we always are.
Yeah.
I can point to the things right now that are unique to the Star Wars Galactic Nights on April 14th. The fireworks are not unique. The scavenger hunt is. March of the First Order, the Stars in the Cavalcade, the Celebrity, those are not new. The Roll Base Activity is new. This cast chat show is new, which you can also see as Celebration if you have the tickets to that. And that's pretty much it. So you'll get to see the Star Wars show, which is awesome. The gang from Star Wars Show, Andy and company, that's obviously great. But there's not a ton of stuff that's just for this. It's pretty much for the nostalgia and the uniqueness of saying, I was at the very first one. You get to see the fireworks and the merchandise, which they haven't shown yet. Probably they're going to show, and I'm going to flip out. They do say the tickets are extremely limited, and the number you can call is 407-827-7036. There will be a link in our show notes to decide, and I am still trying to convince Corey that we need to go.
Yeah.
Because I think it would be awesome just for the uniqueness of it, but I don't know. It is a lot of money. It is a lot of money.
It's the price tag, and it's the timing.
Is it the price for a theme park admission? Honestly, it's been so long since I actually paid for theme park admission.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Perk of being a former cast member.
Hint, hint. Nudge, nudge. Yes. The other thought I had was, obviously Celebration it gears you up, and you're running all day, and you're doing all kinds of fun things all day, and meeting people, and by the end of the day, as sun goes down, you're wiped and you're tired, and I don't know how much energy necessarily. You're hyping on all kinds of stuff. And you and I were out probably every midnight or 1 o'clock.
I was going to say, don't you remember? We were like, we couldn't hold us back, man.
That's true. Yeah, so I guess we'll keep this conversation going as far as what we'll be doing for Celebration, depending on what exact day we'll kind of holding out for other events that come up our way and such. So,
what will we do for Celebration? No one really knows because no schedules have been done. The media passes haven't been even released yet. There's still a bit of time for people to register for that if they want to, and the panels and things of that nature. So. And even the podcast stage, if there even is going to be a podcast stage, there will be. But even if there is, we'll see. So there's much to learn we still have.
Hi, I'm Greg from Hero Ministries. Are you attending Star Wars Celebration but disappointed that you will miss your regular Easter services? We have you covered. We are a group of Star Wars fans that work to offer a non-denominational Christian worship service at conventions like Star Wars Celebration. We are returning to Star Wars Celebration for the third time this year, and we will be hosting a Good Friday service on April 14th at 7:30 p.m. in the Lake Mazzell Room at the Hilton Orlando. Come enjoy an hour of worship, testimony, and teaching with us. For more information, you can find us at heroministries.org. Don't miss us on Friday, April 14th at 7:30 p.m. in the Lake Mazzell Room at the Hilton Orlando. We can't wait to see you at Celebration.
Well, hello there again, my Coffee with Kenobi friends. This is your friendly Force Ghost, Nick DiCo, wishing you a very happy life day. I mean a very happy new year in 2017. I hope your new year is off to a fantastic start, as it has been in the DiCo home. And this month, I was planning on giving you my most anticipated games of 2017, but as Lady Luck would have it, good old Lando himself brought us a new Star Wars video game. It just dropped a few days ago, and that is Star Wars Force Arena. So I have been furiously playing that every moment I had to give you a kind of fuller review in the 3 days that it's been out since I recorded this. But before I do that, I just wanted to touch on some quick video game news that has been going around since we last chatted last month. So let's start with the upcoming Nintendo Switch, the newest console from Nintendo. At launch, I saw that there is no planned Star Wars video games or ports from other consoles like the Lego games or anything like that, or even Battlefront. So nothing to really talk about there currently. I hopefully would anticipate that Star Wars would make its way to the Switch sometime later in 2017. And also, Star Wars Battlefront is releasing a patch to address some more uneven gameplay. I think it actually has to do with Lando and some of the stuff he can do. But unfortunately, there is no rumored addition to the game since the DLC for Scarif dropped last month. One is Heroes Blast. That is actually not going to be coming out, what I've read, for this month's patch either. So we're going to cross our fingers and hope that through the rest of the year, before Battlefront 2 comes out later in 2017, at least that's supposed to happen, that there'll be some more gameplay and stuff added to the Battlefront 1 or original or whatever they'll call it now. So that being said, I have been enjoying, before this new Force Arena launch for the mobile device, playing Scarif and the Death Star over the holidays. I still do believe that if you can find it on sale, $25 or less, it's a great investment of your time. I think definitely the Death Star and Scarif is still worth the DLC content to purchase. So jump on in if you can. But overall, we can talk more about Battlefront and new games next month when I give you my most anticipated review for 2017. But on to the first new Star Wars game to review in quite a long time. It has been a while since we've seen a new game that hasn't been a sequel, like Lego Force Awakens, or something that's been a DLC to the Battlefront series, or part of a kind of a mobile add-on like Star Wars Angry Birds or something like that, or a port from an older game to the mobile device. So this is really exciting. I hope that you've had a chance to download it if you've seen. I've been using the Coffee with Kenobi hashtag to let folks know that this game has dropped. But I want to jump in just really quickly this month and let you know what I think. So remember, I am not a hardcore gamer. I'm just a working dad of 3 who binges Man in the High Castle at night with his wife when the kids go to bed. So my time is limited, and I kind of take my reviews for these games from that point of view. Is it worth your time as a casual gamer? If you're like myself, that's not going to invest hours upon hours every day into a game, but you want to pick something up and play to enjoy the Star Wars universe more fully. So that is my, once again, reminder of my perspective. And remember, truth is always from a certain point of view. So let's just jump right in. It is definitely, again, as we anticipated last month, a mix of Clash Royale and, I misspoken, but League of Legends. So it's more definitely player versus player than any game we've seen on the mobile device, where most games are just playing against AI, and there's not really a lot of interaction with other players from around the world in real time. So this is an add-on, or at least a new game for that kind of person or personality that likes to play against other people. So if you enjoy Battlefront and playing against real people, you're going to like this game. The positives are many, but let me just list off a few. It contains a lot of new canon characters from the original trilogy that we've seen in Star Wars Rebels, the TV show, and from Rogue One. So you have characters like Kanan, Ezra, Agent Kallus, and Sabine. Hopefully, Mr. Freddie Prinze Jr. appreciates being in a new video game again as Kanan. And our comic book friends at Comics with Kenobi will enjoy that Dr. Aphra, Darth Vader's, best new addition to the Star Wars canon that we've seen in the original trilogy as a character is actually in a video game now, and it is actually really cool to see all these new additions from these new original trilogy TV shows or comics and canon stories in a video game come to life. So seeing these characters is a great treat. I myself have unlocked Cassian Andor, Director Krennic, the Grand Inquisitor, and Luke Skywalker. A few of those I had to trade for, but I got a couple of those upon opening the game. So it's great just to jump right in and already play with new people that you haven't played with before. Luke is pretty much in every video game, but folks like Krennic and the Inquisitor, are not in all the games. So that's really cool. And speaking of fun characters, and on a side note, there is a lot of continuity between the different Star Wars video games that are out there, and playing as Uncle Palpy, or Palpatine, as he's known officially, he actually has the same powers across both the Galaxy of Heroes and Battlefront as he does in this new game, Force Arena. So that is actually, props to the folks at EA and Disney and Netmarble working together to actually keep that, continuation of similarities between characters over different platforms and games. So that's really neat. The basic function is really easy. Your leader, like Uncle Palpy or Luke Skywalker, leads a team that you select from a deck of cards, and your cards are made up of soldiers or ships or mines and traps into a battle in a 1 versus 1 or 2 versus 2 against other players in real time. And you get to place your cards in different parts of the map based upon how much levels of energy that you have. Each card corresponds to a different level of energy that needs to be used. And your basic goal is to defeat the opposite hero or villain and to destroy their turret and their shield generator. So it sounds easy, and it's pretty simple to get behind. It's a very simple concept, probably a lot easier than Galaxy of Heroes in terms of playing off different people's abilities and building up a strong squad. You're really just kind of jumping in right away and going at a basic function of got to destroy the castle. And with that, another positive I would say is that it's free to play. Everybody loves free games. You could definitely spend a ton of Republic credits trying to up your team, up your captains, and get new cards. Or you can be like myself and probably lots of other folks that are out there that are casual gamers. You just grind it out. You're getting in there, you're playing every match, you're hoping to win, and it takes a couple of hours between 3 or 18 to unlock new card packs. And so you can do it. You can play for free, play casually, pick it up a few times during the day, and still progress in a moderate pace. And lastly, one of the positives I want to touch on before I get to a little bit of the pitfalls is that the 2 versus 2 team up is a lot of fun. You can join a guild, so you can join guilds with friends and actually play with them in real time. You can chat with them and figure out, hey, we want to do an Empire versus Rebellion team, or we want to be the Rebellion versus Empire, try different characters. And for me as a social gamer, somebody who likes enjoying talking about video games, obviously, but also playing them with people, it's really nice to actually have a game that you can pick up and play with other people from around the world on the same team and not just against. So, with that's my positives for Force Arena. A few quick pitfalls. I would say the randomness of the cards as you get and the ability not to upgrade all the time the cards you really want to have makes it a struggle to actually kind of progress a lot. You can get new cards from the Kuaz dealer and trade them in, but also those are random too. So, not necessarily the easiest way to get those things up. And gameplay is hard too. I've been playing for a couple nights now, but I've still only ranked on level 2 out of 7, ranking 7 being the highest. So you really need to put a lot of time in to get good and to win. And you need to focus. You can't just pick it up, put on autopilot like in some parts of Galaxy of Heroes, and expect to win with a good squad. You've got to sit there for 5 or 6 minutes and really battle it out with another player across the world. So there is really stiff competition. I admit I get frustrated after 3 losses in a row, and I don't want to go out a loser, so keep playing and try to get better. And you have to win to get more card packs. And so it takes time. It takes commitment, which is another kind of pitfall for those casual gamers that if you don't have a lot of time and can't sit there for at least 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, to actually, get better with your characters and your leaders, you're going to struggle for a while. I find that for myself the first few nights, which is struggling. But if I can put in 30 minutes at night after watching Man on High Castle or Star Wars Rebels, then I can get better at it. But it does take time and commitment, so it is not for the faint of heart or for the super casual gamer that may only pick it up once a week or something like that. And there are rumors I saw that there will have more characters launching soon, but nobody really knows. Right now it's just original trilogy. There's no prequel characters. There's no anybody from Force Awakens. But so it's light. There's no. There are a few different folks that I haven't seen before, like Agent Callus, and Director Krennic, that has been ported over from Battlefront, etc. But where is my R2D2? You do have K2SO as a droid, but where's the Chop? Where's Chopper? It would be really cool to see some new guys already launched. They do have 60 or so characters currently, but I think there's definitely room for a lot more, and I think when they do that, they'll really have an opportunity to bring in a lot more fans and a lot more folks like you and myself that want to play as a bunch of different characters across the universe, especially really good prequel characters that haven't had any representation in games yet, like Padme. Folks that really do appreciate. I didn't say Jar Jar, but Jar Jar might be fun. Or Gungan Warrior, that'd be kind of neat. But I digress. Anyway, as I leave you for the Force Arena, I will come back with a more in-depth takeaway in February about what I think of the game after I have more than a few nights to get a review out to you all. But overall, I give it 3 out of 5 stars or 2 thumbs up in the middle ground. Nothing, no 2 thumbs up, no 2 thumbs down, so maybe 1 thumb up, 1 thumb down. But I think it's worth your time to pick it up and download it for Android or the iPhone and give it a shot. See what you think. It doesn't take, it's free. It doesn't take a lot of time to install. It's not a huge game like Commander is that takes up a lot of your data on your phone. So you could really get some time into it and enjoy it. So I'd love to hear what you think at Nick DiCo, or use the hashtag CWK to play the game and let me know your thoughts. I'd love to talk more about it and see what your favorite characters are and what you think. And next month, I'll talk to you more about what I anticipate to come out for 2017 and what to be excited about. And with that, my friends, may the Force be with you.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Star Wars The Canon Explained on Coffee with Kenobi, a look at all things in the Star Wars canon. I'm Jason Brame, your guide through the canon, so let's dive right on in to the update. Since our last update, Marvel Comics Star Wars, issue number 26, gives us our very first narrative that takes place prior to Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Luke Skywalker has again cracked open the Journal of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and is reading a story of a Jedi Master. While Obi-Wan never uses the Master's name, we know this story to be about Yoda. This is the first story in an arc that will span several issues. Between the eras of Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and 4, A New Hope, we got the US release of the children's chapter book Adventures in Wild Space No. 1, The Snare, and No. 2, The Nest. These are the first 2 books in a series about 2 children who are on a mission to find their parents. These books are a very quick read, and while they may not seem very interesting on the surface, they will begin to intersect events that we know from this era in future books. Rebels Magazine issue number 8 contains 2 original comics, A Day's Duty and No Sympathy. Of course, we have our episodes of Star Wars Rebels, Visions and Voices, where Ezra and Darth Maul go together to uncover the knowledge that the other possesses from the merger of the holocrons, and the more recent episode, The Ghost of Geonosis, which saw the return of Saw Gerrera, connecting Geonosis, the Onderon arc from the Clone Wars, and many other aspects of the canon narrative, giving us a clearer narrative line towards Rogue One. Star Wars Insider number 170 contained the short story The Voice of the Empire, which connected Catalyst, a Rogue One novel, to Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Rogue One, a Star Wars story was released, giving us that epic look on how the Death Star plans were retrieved and delivered to Princess Leia. Between the eras of Episode 4 A New Hope and Episode 5 The Empire Strikes Back, we had the release of Dr. Aphra number 2, her continuing story after her departure from Darth Vader. Moving past Episode 6, Poe Dameron issues number 9 and 10 were also released since our last update, giving us a continuing look at the Gathering Storm arc. While we do not have an enormous amount of content coming this next month, there are still a few things to watch out for. In the realm of comic books, Marvel continues its ongoing series with Poe Dameron, Star Wars, and Dr. Aphra, all receiving new issues soon. Also coming is the Darth Maul miniseries, with its first issue due out on February 1st. In our short-form stories, Titan Publications' Star Wars Insider number 171 will release another short story in the Blade Squadron series, this one surrounding the Battle of Jakku, likely a tie-in to Aftermath Empire's End. Over at my YouTube channel, Star Wars The Canon Explained, I took a bit of a hiatus during the holidays. But I did release a complete look at the Star Wars canon timeline from beginning through the end of 2016. If you are new to the canon or want a walkthrough of the entire saga as it stands, it might be worth a look. If you are looking to catch up, refresh your memory, or hear my commentary on various stories in the Star Wars canon, head to StarWarsTCE.com to check out these videos. For this issue's Canon Thought, Cassian Andor, captain in the Rebel Alliance, is an intelligence operative who is put in charge of retrieving Jen Erso in order to find her father and uncover the secret behind the Empire's weapon. For those who saw Rogue One, this is not anything new. What is interesting is that, according to the Rogue One Visual Dictionary, Andor had several operational aliases in various sectors, one of which was Fulcrum, a name he used in the Alberio sector to recruit people into the Rebel Alliance. As we have seen through Star Wars Rebels, the name Fulcrum was not exclusive to Ahsoka Tano, though we know from the novel Ahsoka that she was the first Fulcrum. It seems this name was used by any individual who helped coordinate and bring people and cells into the larger rebellion. The idea that there are multiple Fulcrums out there is an intriguing one when it comes to possible stories that could spin off from this era. This has been Jason Brame with Star Wars The Canon Explained. Visit me on YouTube for my look at the stories of the Star Wars canon and subscribe to get the latest updates. I can be found on Twitter at StarWarsTCE, and don't forget to listen to Comics with Kenobi for an in-depth look at each of the Marvel comics mentioned here. Now back to Dan and Corey and the rest of this month's episode of Coffee with Kenobi. This is the podcast you're looking for.
Han Solo, Rebel Soldier, Lando Calrissian, and Bespin Guard, each sold separately. From Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back collection, new from Kenner.
Looking? Found someone you have, I would say,
Your lightsabers will make a fine addition to my collection.
For our first collector's news story, we've got something pretty cool. Hasbro sent this to us last week, and it is the announcement on Instagram of Mads Mikkelsen, who of course plays Galen Erso. The 3 3/4 inch Galen Erso figure has been revealed again on Mads Mikkelsen's Instagram account. First impressions.
He's cool. I did not expect this. And what's great about
what?
I didn't expect to get a character after him. And I guess really? I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know. It's surprising to me because I'm still waiting on my Luke episode 7.
That's
it hasn't in stores yet, and this was kind of like, I know they have a lot coming. I think there's a lot of fun things coming out. We don't know yet, but this is one that was kind of a surprise to me. And I was like, oh, this looks great. I want to definitely pick this up because it's a unique character. I love the character itself. I love
one of my very favorites.
Yeah, I was surprised at myself from Rogue One and Galen in the way he was portrayed on screen from Mads Mikkelsen. And again, this is a unique character. I think he holds a lot of value, I think, in the Star Wars saga itself.
I agree. There's I'm obviously going to get it as the first time I see it. It comes with a mouse droid. There's not really a canonical reason for that other than just fun. Well, maybe. I mean, mouse droids are on the Death Star, and he is responsible, a big part of the Death Star.
Maybe he invented them.
Maybe. That's interesting. So there's just something odd about his torso in this image that I don't think does justice to what Mads Mikkelsen did in the film, if that makes any sense.
It does. I mean, it's interesting because it's. I think he's a unique character. He's not an action character. He's not sitting there, shooting a blaster or, fighting off anybody. But he's a scientist. He's looking very. I think intelligent. He's very pristine, and if you think about that too, the way he's standing, he's very militaristic. As far as he's playing his role really well, and that's all that goes along with what he does in the film. And I was surprised to see him in this Imperial uniform. Anyway, I would expect to see him maybe his farmer gear. Maybe in the essence of what we saw in the first couple scenes. But
they'll do that too, I'm sure.
That'd be cool. I think I'd maybe rather have that one, but I think it's unique. The character itself, I mean, the action figure, his face looks a little melted to me, and I had the same feeling with Krennic as well. He had this his face looks a little melted. The eyes are a little bit uneven.
Yeah, you didn't like that one as much.
I didn't. I wanted to get him, so it was strange. I don't know. It's unfortunate, but. I think I'll still pick him up because I just like the character himself, and I'm okay with that. So,
because I got the Krennic 3 3/4 inch, but I didn't get the Black Series one.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't pull the trigger on that one, so it's difficult.
The sculpts are a little hit and miss.
Yeah. For our next bit of collector's news, we have some Star Wars Bluetooth speakers, which we recently did a Star Wars Christmas list that we had, Dan. And we spoke about some fun things. These I didn't know were out. I didn't know these existed until you did a cool review on them. And what's unique about these, they look just like I'm looking at the images here on our website, and they look like...
Done with my actual iPhone, which you can tell what an amateur photographer I am.
No, I was looking at the C-3PO, and he looks so cool. He looks really unique. I mean, he doesn't look necessarily just like... right out of the film, I think, but
trust me, close up he does.
Does he? Okay, I'll have to check it out with my own eyes, but it's really cool the way that he looks, and then the way the speakers are in his eyes, and the way that I'm assuming they probably light up. Does his eyes light up when the speakers
They do.
Are on? Oh, that's cool.
They do. Yeah, these are from AC Worldwide speakers. In full disclosure, they are an affiliate of ours. So they sent us these speakers for us to take a look at. And we're not. It's not like we have to say we like them or don't like them. It really doesn't matter. They just send us for us to. Yeah, exactly. Cool. Just give our honest thing. But my review posted on January 16th of 2017, and these things are amazing. We got C-3PO and we got Vader. Corey ended up with Vader. I ended up with 3PO. And I'll just give you some of the basic specs, but it's it'll actually in the review. But essentially, the frequency response is 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. The output speakers 2x3 by 32 millimeters. The volume control. The Darth Vader is 30 centimeters tall. I mean, it's a big speaker. The 3PO one is a few inches shorter than that, which makes sense because they're characters. And what's unique about them, besides the fact that you can control the volume, you can compare them up. Any Bluetooth speaker does that. This has bass control on it as well. And the sound quality, the clarity is amazing. I mean, it really is incredibly strong. You mentioned the colors. Both Vader and 3PO, when you pair them up, they either have orange lights or white or blue or a combination of things or red, depending on whether you're pairing them up with another speaker. You can pair the two up together and make stereo speakers.
Yeah.
You can just do it Bluetooth. You can do it the old-fashioned way, hooking it up with DC input. It's got a subwoofer in it as well, which is really unique for a Bluetooth speaker.
Yeah, right. That's interesting.
Yeah, they're awesome. I mean, they're seriously, whether you're an audiophile or you are just a Star Wars fan or you're both, and they're amazing. They come with white gloves, so you can. I'm serious. You can hold them and move it around so you don't get it all fingerprinty and smudgy. Because the 3PO, and you can see the image I put there. It's just so shiny and beautiful and sleek, and whenever you pair it up, he says, "I do believe that they think I am some sort of god from Return of the Jedi."
Yeah.
And when you turn on Vader's, it's the breathing and sort of a few bars of the Star Wars theme, not the Imperial March, but the Star Wars theme. An interesting thing for our international listeners, too, because we have quite a few of you in our Coffee with Kenobi family, but whether you're in the UK, Europe, USA, or Australia, they have adapters, and I put the picture for that on the review as well. And they are powerhouses, man. They're over $200, and when you see them, you'll understand why. I mean, they're about as good as it gets. And these things, they're Bluetooth, so they have good range and quality. You can display them anywhere. They're kind of nice on the deck if you're having a pool party or grilling out or playing a game with your family, and you just
listen to a podcast
in the background, or listen to a podcast. You listen to Coffee with Kenobi through the Bluetooth or the Rogue One soundtrack, and
there you go. That's cool.
I mean, they're great. They're super cool. So check out the link on our show notes or on our webpage through one of our newest affiliates, and let us know what you think. I really honestly think, and I wouldn't say to have people. I wouldn't recommend this stuff if I didn't like it. And they're awesome.
Well, I think what's cool, Dan, from my perspective too, just this is something that like a lot of our listeners know, I'm not a huge collector, but there's things like this that I think are unique and like they're functional for everyday uses, but yet gives you that fan flair to be able to show things off. When guests come over, hey, look at that, that's kind of cool. Hey, look, it plays music. Let's hang out for a while or whatever, or hook it up to your TV maybe, and I mean. Pump some video games out of it. So I think that's pretty cool. I think I'm going to hook mine up right away and blast some Star Wars. But I think it's unique. I'm curious to know: are they heavy? Like, are they weighted?
I mean, maybe for you. I mean, not for a man with 10 of the strength of 10 like myself.
Oh boy!
And they're just normal speakers. I mean, they have good weight to them. I don't know the exact weight off the top of my head, but yeah, they're definitely not flimsy. You know what I mean? They're definitely a very high quality piece of collectibles and speakers, and they're really nice. I mean, I'm telling you, you're gonna love it. And like I said, as soon as I get this Vader one over to you, you're just gonna be thrilled because they're really neat, very unique collectible, as you said.
Awesome, yeah. So you guys, if you're interested, check out the link in the show notes, and thanks for sending these along from AC Worldwide.
For our next bit of collector news, we also have, besides AC Worldwide, we have another affiliate in Geek Fuel box. Now, they've mailed along a couple of them our direction, and the first one, here's the deal. If you buy through our webpage, you automatically get a Star Wars bonus item in your first Geek Fuel box. And when I tell you, now we did tweet about this, but when I tell you what the bonus Star Wars thing is, it's great. So the thing about Geek Fuel, and they're another subscription box, like Smuggler's Bounty with Star Wars and the Funko, and there's a lot of them out there. This one, the first box I got, it came with Guardians of the Galaxy rocket socks.
Oh, that's cool.
It came with a T-shirt from Futurama I can't think of the robot from Futurama.
Bender.
Yeah, because they have a shirt of Bender.
Yeah.
They had a number of cool little things like that. The new one that I got just the other day it comes with a magazine, like a high quality. It's smaller, but it's a high quality magazine in print, and it had Carrie Fisher on the front. It had a nice piece in there about her passing. Yeah. It had a big T-shirt of K2SO, and in the silhouette of the AT-AT, I should say. It had like this on a card, like a small card, looked like a little He-Man pin, even though it's not a He-Man character. It had a Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia Organa button. It's really like super high quality stuff. It also had a miniature like a collectible miniature statue, probably about, 4 or 5 inches tall, of Harley Quinn from Suicide Squad.
Cool.
So it's great, right? And that's not even the Star Wars stuff. Did I
was going to say, you mentioned all kinds of. No, I did not see it. I didn't get a chance to look at it, but
I sent a picture to you and Jeff.
Oh, okay.
We send so much stuff over.
I know, there's so much.
So the Star Wars stuff came in like its own special envelope inside the box. Okay. And you and I can go through these and kind of hunt and peck over what we want to have or whatever.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
But I got an exclusive limited edition special cover of Vader Down issue number 1, nice. Which is Star Wars bonus item. And we also, and there was a sticker in there as well. But there also, Corey, was a silk Admiral Akbar pillowcase that says in bold, "It's a nap."
That's the best gag ever.
It is great, and by the way, it's quite comfortable now. I haven't gotten up the fortitude to say, "Hey, honey, look at my new pillowcase."
Right,
because she'll say,
"Yeah, that's the pillowcase is going on the couch." Yeah, that's good.
but it's super cool. Like, it's so exciting. It just sounds like I just went through puberty saying that. but it's really fun. These things are very, very high quality. Like, there's a ton of stuff in there. I mean, I like the Funko subscription box. I've been trying to turn them down, but they keep making super cool ones, so they're making it hard on me. Geek Fuel is apparently also has a similar mission because they just got all the cool stuff that we like. Also, in the new box, it had a brown thing, looks like a brick. And in the last one, that was what the rocket socks were. And this one was soap, and they're like shaped like little gems from Zelda, but they're soap, little hand soaps. So it's just like a lot of fun stuff that's actually something you can actually use, and it's collectible too.
That's cool. And you're going through all these different items and such. There's all kinds of fun things that are, like I said, they're very unique in a way that a lot of Star Wars fans are fans of other things, other comic series or TV series or whatever, what have you, video games. And this kind of seems like it has the whole package, and it's almost like a blast off of just like, here's some like random, like awesome stuff. And like, again, like I said in this previous segment, that I'm not a huge collector, but this is kind of like little goofy stuff that like, oh, this is unique. Something you don't see every day that, not everybody has. And you said, it's, you can get on a monthly plan if you want, and pay for the price of the box and the shipping, and then like you said, you get every month or so, and be able to just get these unique items and kind of show them off to your friends. And it's cool to be able to text back and forth with you and be like, oh, here's what I got so far. Here's what I got this time. So it's unique in that way.
It's definitely something worth checking out. Again, if you subscribe, or at least just check one out through the Geek Fuel banner on our website. It helps out our show, and you get some really, really cool swag. And if you do decide that you want to check it out, let us know. Send us some pics and let us know what you think, and we will certainly pass it on and share with everybody what you thought about this experience too.
For our next bit of collector's news, we have another kind of, we talked about a geek box coming out. Funko actually has their latest Smuggler's Bounty box for January, and just talking about it, I think that you might be out of the deadline time. Is that correct, Dan, for this box?
It's cool. I think so. Okay. But it'll be worth. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of people who are in our Coffee with Kenobi family are going to receive one. I know I signed up for it. Did you?
I skipped this one, and I'm kicking myself.
Oh, well, what is the one? Share with our good people what it is.
I'll backtrack a little bit. My birthday was back on January 10th, and I'll do a little something for myself. Just kind of be able to say it's unique. I got this year, whatnot, and I didn't really know. I was looking around for stuff, and I didn't know what to get. And this kind of passed my way. This is the Smuggler's Bounty box for January, and it's Han Solo on a Tauntaun. The Funko box. I mean, it's like two Funkos in one, and basically, it's awesome. I mean, I again, like I said, I'm kicking myself. I should have picked this up because it's definitely unique and one of a kind, really, that you can't get anywhere else.
Like I said, I got it just because Funko just seems determined to take my money because they always make super cool stuff.
Yeah.
Not to change topics, but did you see the Rebels one that's coming out?
What?
They just announced it. At the time of this recording on January 16th. It's going to be Maul from Rebels.
Whoa.
Not Darth Maul, Corey. Maul. And it looks amazing. Yes, I'm going to have to get that too. And the thing about these, isn't it awesome?
He looks sweet.
I know, it looks incredibly sweet. And just like Geek Fuel, I mean, it's super high quality stuff.
Yeah.
Funko's Smuggler's Box obviously comes with a T-shirt and sometimes a pin and sometimes a bonus thing. And there was one a few boxes ago, the Rogue One box that had a Death Star luggage tag.
Yeah, I saw that. That's cool.
Yeah, so it's super cool. So they just, and these are not an affiliate of ours, but we're actual legit fans, and
exactly,
they're just nice quality stuff. So I'm looking forward to displaying this on my shelf very soon. And I think you can probably still, usually in Funko is good about ordering back product. So if you sign up for the Rebels one, you'll probably get an option to get any of the ones they've released over the past couple of years. So I'm sure it's possible. Yeah.
Ooh. I might have to reach out and check that out. But
just tell them you know James Burns and you get right in.
Look at that. So like you mentioned too, these guys aren't affiliated us. But we, when we're trying to be able to tell you guys about stuff that we like, and this is something again, like I'm not a huge collector, but these Funkos have a special place in my heart. I've got a couple of them I'm looking at right now on my shelf of K2SO and the Death Trooper and Finn. And there's so many more I've got like a wish list of. But again, this one just knocks out of the park. If you guys don't know anything about Smuggler's Bounty, go out and check it out. We'll put a link in the show notes. And, like I said, there's awesome things coming down the line. So don't hesitate like I did and miss out. So very cool. Lots of fun.
So, Corey, you obviously are a huge Star Wars fan, and as am I.
Obviously.
And we love collecting, and well, me more than you, perhaps. But there's one thing that you cannot resist, and that would be this top Star Wars digital card critter collecting app.
Yeah, it's something that's, I've gotten to play it ever since almost the launch of it.
Since the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, really. And it seems like every year they come out with cool sets and awesome things. And again, to me, it's the access, the daily access of getting on and getting like daily credits and building those up to go for sets or cards I like the most. I've got quite a few Rebels cards that came out basically like maybe not even a month ago. And what's cool is they release stuff around releases, so similar to like when the movies come out, and like Force Fridays, they had some stuff come out. And the thing again, to me, it's like it's easy to access and be able to get into on the mobile device, your phone or your iPad, and be able to just easily get in and play around and collect cards. If you're a fan of the old 1977 trading cards, which I never had to get into myself, but this is a way to be able to access some of those old cards and some of the brand new cards that they're coming out with for Topps.
Well, you can get it for free from iTunes or Google Play. So that's obviously, it's pretty easy to collect something that's free, and it's not like it takes up a ton of space because they're digital, but they're incredibly cool. The images, you mentioned the classic 1977 Star Wars run. Over the past couple weeks, ever since basically Christmas, they've had the run of the first series of the Empire Strikes Back cards. And those were when I was very much in my youthful heyday of being a Star Wars fan. I remember sitting in my grandparents' home. Every time we went out to a department store or to a drugstore or whatever, what am I, 100 years old? And then we would get packs, and they came with the gum. And I just remember trading with my brother and looking through all the Empire Strikes Back cards. And it was hard. I didn't quite get them all, but I certainly tried through the digital card trader collecting app. And there's some beautiful ones there. And when you can hit the screen, it flips over and you can see the back of the original cards too. So, but it's not just the classic ones. They're constantly making new sets, images from everything, from the films, from Clone Wars, Rebels, Rogue One, The Force Awakens. It's all there.
It really is. And like one of the best things about it is you can go on and trade. Like you mentioned, Dan, trade with friends. There's a whole community of folks on there that you can openly trade with and get the cards you want. Not to mention, obviously, there's signature cards. Most recently, for Rogue One, they came out a bunch of them from Rogue One. Galen Erso, and they had Forrest Whitaker on there. We're signing some. Chewette Amwe, all kinds of stuff. I think those are super unique. Because I think it's interesting because it's like a digital version of something that I would love to have as like, a physical version of. I think sometimes what's unique too is like you can trade. There's all different types of things. No matter what type of Star Wars fan you are, it kind of hits your era in a sense of how you grew up with it. So it's kind of fun to be able to do that too. So if you're interested in checking this out, go online. Again, it's free. It's a Star Wars digital card trader app from Topps.
Luke, you're going to find that many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view.
I must be allowed to speak.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
Our topic for show number 63 is a look at how Rogue One fits into the mythology of Star Wars. The new film introduced a number of new ideas into the saga that warrant further discussion. Joining us on this topic is our podcasting brother, the Mike Pilot from Full of Sith. Welcome back to the show, Mike.
Hi, Dan. It's nice to talk to you. It's been a while.
It has. You and I are definitely constantly in contact with one another via text and whatnot. But as far as chatting like this, it's cool. It's just good to be back and have you back on the show. And you have had an amazing. Full of Sith, of course, just gets better and better all the time. It's the best Star Wars podcast out there. I mean, there's no question about that. And you, my friend, got to be a part of something so stinking cool. You were sending me pictures of it from the event. You, of course, were at the world premiere of Rogue One. Can you tell us all about that?
You know, first of all, yeah, it's great to be on with you. And you actually brought up before we started talking, it's been, like 2 years since we've seen each other and actually had a really good conversation like this. But no, it's great talking on text. Text is actually great because you can always look back in your pocket and say, oh, I forgot to comment on this. And then you don't have to lose touch. So anyway, that aside, Rogue One, that whole weekend experience was surreal. It went so fast, but so slow at the same time. Mm-hmm. Like there were moments of when we got there, you had to wait until they opened up the gates to let the people through that had their passes. And then you're on the red carpet and you're looking around and you're seeing all these, different people that have been in Star Wars forever or who are new in the movie. And you see all these other reporters all over the place. And like that moment on the red carpet only seemed like a moment. It seemed like we were through there so fast, but I know it wasn't like that. But then we get to talk to some cool people and that flies by, but then we get into the theater and it felt like an eternity until the movie actually started. So that's the way the whole weekend went. It was just moments of things went by way too fast and then the anticipation of things took way too long. But I have to thank Brian, my co-host Brian Young, author and overall good dude, for making me his +1 for the adventure. When he called me up about it and said, we need to do this. You need to come. And I've talked about this on Full Sith and my other shows that I've been on for years. I don't travel well. I'm not so much that I'm afraid of something happening to me. I'm just afraid of missing something in my wife or my daughter's life. If I was no longer around, I'd feel bad. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so it's always that little bit of maybe I might want to sit this one out. And of course, then they're sitting there next to me going, if you do this, we're not going to talk to you for like a year because that's just dumb. You need to do this. This is an amazing opportunity. And it was. And I could only hold it up against, Celebration was great. But when we went out for the Clone Wars finale, watched that last arc out at Lucasfilm, Ashley and Dave and Matt were there, and just seeing Pablo and everybody else, I could hold it up against that. It just was so much more grander, I've never been to a Hollywood premiere. I've been to a movie premiere in Philadelphia and in New York City and some other towns on the East Coast, but this was like nothing like that. I mean, this was a brand new Star Wars movie with brand new characters and a year plus of speculation and hope and wonder, and just to be there was out of this world. And I'm so thankful that we were. And you try not to get too emotional about it, but it was a very, very emotional time. I mean, just standing there seeing the big Rogue One marquee, to go into the Pantages Theater. It's beautiful. And maybe I sound like a jerk by saying this, but sitting closer to the screen than Kevin Smith. I mean, these are all things that really, tickled me that we got to do. And,
I like you much more than Kevin Smith, so I'm happy about that.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you. But yeah, no, it was just. I have not been lately, ever since we got to see Rogue One, and I decided it was now time to start talking about it. I wouldn't say I faked interest, but I just wasn't as interested in Rogue One when it was announced than I was with The Force Awakens at that point when that was released. You know, that was a brand new Star Wars movie. It was Star Wars. It wasn't a Star Wars story.
And it was going to have Harrison Ford in it and Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill. It's hard not to. It's hard. Nothing's going to beat that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, you know, it's hard to even talk about it, Dan. But anyway, once that trailer hit with the Death Star and seeing some, I said to myself, you know what, this actually does look pretty good. Now I'm that first trailer really is when it started for me with Rogue One. And, you know, I think everybody had some worries with Force Awakens. Like, is it going to be a good Star Wars movie? Is it going to, you know, stand up to not only the other movies, even the prequels, but just time in general? And we saw that movie, and it was our first Star Wars movie in many, many years, and it was amazing. But Rogue One, we left the theater. The movie ended. I have tears for the last half an hour or so.
Oh man!
The movie ended, and then it hit me standing. We were up in the balcony, and I moved up to where the end of the balcony was, and I was looking down at the crowd and people walking out of the theater and reading the credits. Seeing Matt Martin's name in the credits, I was
just thinking
cool.
that's one of my favorite things about the whole thing.
Yeah, that was awesome. Because when we saw him at the party, then afterwards, I'm like, I went to walk up to him to say something about it, and he's like, I can't believe it. So that was a cool moment. But like that moment, just standing there, and just 20 seconds after the movie ended until about, I guess it was about 10 minutes until we finally, you know, got our acts together, started using our brains. It was a very overwhelming time. And we Facebook Lived when we walked out of the theater, and we were standing out near the X-Wing, and Brian put on his Facebook Live to let people ask questions and just, you know, to talk about the evening. And I said, one of the people's questions was like, how good is the movie? You know, where do you rate it? And I've always tried to not be an overreactive Star Wars fan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people thought maybe at that moment I was being so. And I said, it's probably my second favorite Star Wars movie. And time will tell if it's as good as Empire. I don't know. I can't say that, but I can definitely say without hesitation that movie was really, really good. Let's say it didn't have a Star Wars name to it. It was just a movie called, you know, Rogue One, and it was about a band of people stealing plans of you know, a Hindenburg, you know, and then to be able to destroy it to save the world. If you would have had it in if it would have been the same movie, just like different than Star Wars, I still would have loved that movie. But we learned so many good things about that time to patch the movies together, and we learned so much about these characters, and we got so you know, enveloped in them, and you got, in the short period of time that the movie went on, you just really K2SO. I mean, how can anybody not like K2SO? How could anybody not have that moment where Cassian's having his speech about being in it since he was 6 years old, and Jyn losing her parents, and then thinking that she was abandoned by Saul. I mean, there was a lot of feels in that movie in a little bit of time.
There were.
And then to lose everybody. I mean, I don't think you could have done it any other way, but I guess that's the biggest thing people that I hear from people. I guess their biggest complaint about Rogue One was they made us care about all these characters, and then they killed them.
Which is, by the way, why it's strong. Which is also, there's a little story you may have heard of called Romeo and Juliet, where they die at the end, and it's one of the most popular stories of all time. That had to happen. We're going to go a little more specifically into certain aspects of it, because I definitely want to pick your brain. But just to jump back to the premiere really quickly, who were some of the people that you saw on the red carpet that you spoke with, and that we were like, oh my goodness, I'm having an out-of-body experience? And how did you prepare for that as a professional and as a fan?
Well, we saw Diego Luna, and we spoke to him for a few seconds. And Gary Whitta ran into, and David Collins. I know he wasn't part of the Star Wars movie, but seeing David Collins in person, I've never talked to him in person before, so that was like a really cool thing for me too. I really wanted to get to talk to Alan Tudyk, but I didn't get a chance to do that. And then there was a lot of people we ran into at the after party. But how to prepare for it? I guess because it was so grand and so overwhelming, and there was no way not to feel like a fan. Like, it felt okay that as a professional, even though we were there covering it, and we, as a fan, you're supposed to feel that way. I mean, this is Star Wars. This is something that you've loved your whole life, and you see all these other famous people acting amazed, and you hear them in their interviews. Like, we sat in the theater and we watched a lot of the interviews that were going outside, and there was a lot of funny ones too. Did you watch the live stream?
Of course. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there were some really, really funny ones. So you were supposed to feel that way. I think like the dress code was, you should dress nice or Star Warsy or both. You know, those aren't the exact words, but
right.
You did see a lot of people that you wouldn't expect, you know, Star Wars tie or have these socks on, or people there that were in full costume, and a lot of people in the theater like wearing like full on body armor and costumes, and I don't know how you wouldn't like die from the heat, but so yeah, I think that you get into a situation where you're seeing people that you would not otherwise have the opportunity to have a discussion with them, to talk about it, but it's, you know how we always say on Full Sith, and we've said this to you, and we said it to tons of people, and got Celebration. It's Star Wars is the great equalizer.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be nervous talking to anybody about Star Wars, because they're there and they love it as much as you do. So, hey, what do you think of this first half of Rebels this season? And that's the conversation, you know. Right. How excited are you to see Rogue One? You know, what are your worries? What are your dreams? What would you like to see in this movie? And it's okay to be a fanboy. It's okay. You don't have to worry about it. And I thought that was really, really cool, because if it was something else, if I was covering something like, I'm just throwing just anything out there. If I was covering a band that I really like, and I was going to be asking questions, I think it would be a little harder to not completely geek out over the band that I liked. You know what I mean?
There's like a calm. I know when we talked with Freddie or whoever, Ashley, or just anybody, there's just like sort of a calm that takes over, because you're in that moment. It's something you've been thinking about since you were a little kid. And you just, because those are your people. Star Wars isn't so much a fandom as it is a community. And I think that you can kind of feel that it's a very all-encompassing thing. You know, surrounds us, penetrates us, binds the galaxy together, right?
Yeah. You know. Now that I'm thinking about it, I guess the hardest person to talk to, and they weren't hard to talk to at all, so please, listeners, don't take this the wrong way. When we ran into Dave while we were doing our live stream, Brian turned around and said, "Oh, holy crap, Dave Filoni, we got to go." And he turned off the stream. And at this point, we've had a couple glasses of champagne. It was, we were having a good time. And to go up to Dave, you have respect for people that have been in Star Wars for 40 plus years, whether they were writing or directing or acting or being a best boy grip or any of the, you know what I mean? You have so much respect for these people. But what Dave has done with Clone Wars and Rebels, and the story that he's telling, and the way he's telling it, and how he's making these characters just amazing. I mean,
well, he resuscitated the prequels really in a different way. And I think if not for Dave Filoni and the Clone Wars, we wouldn't maybe be where we are right now.
Oh, yeah, I would agree with that. So, going up and talking to Dave, and it's happened the few times that I've been, around Dave in person, I find myself wanting to be extra good and not, sound stupid. I want Dave to like, you know what I mean?
I do. And he's pretty charming, though, isn't he? Like,
he is, yeah.
We chatted at Rancho a number of times, and I remember when I was walking up to him, I remember thinking, well, okay, this is it. Let's do it. And all of a sudden I was talking to him like we were old college buddies. And then he and I were talking about hockey. We were talking about the Cubs winning the World Series. And it was just sort of like, he obviously, everybody in the room wants to talk to him. And he's got more secrets in his brain than anyone can imagine. But he's just a really cool, legit guy. You know what I mean? And he puts out this vibe. Steve too, Steve Sansweet.
Yeah.
Really well. He's just a really warm, sincere, genteel person, and funny too.
Oh, he's awesome. He's awesome. It's just when we were out at Rancho, we had, after the tours were over and stuff, we sat back and we had dinner, and it was a really nice time. But yeah, but you want these people to like you. So it's kind of like with Dave, it was just, and I agree with you. It's real easy to talk to Dave about anything, but you really want to talk about Rebels, and you really want to talk about, hey, what about this? And he asked us about, what did we think of, the first 11 episodes, and what can I say? They're incredible. The end of season 2 to me at most times of a week, if I'm thinking about it, I like better than Force Awakens. So it's like, I love the first parts, the first half of the season. And he's like, well, I got to tell you, the second part's just going to blow your mind then. And then it's like, I'm talking to Dave Filoni about Rebels, and he knows what's going on. He knows. So yeah, Dave, like I said, it's you just want him to like you. So.
And he does.
Yeah, and he does. But to answer your question, it was really easy out there to be a fan, to geek out about it, and not worry about much at all. As long as you behave yourself.
Right, which, that I guess with you and Brian together, that's kind of a 50-50.
Yeah, but we did all right.
In the best way possible. So, we're about 20 minutes in almost, and we haven't even talked about the topic. So I guess we should probably do that. This is, of course, people could listen to you talk forever, and it's because you're a very entertaining and sincere guy, and you know what you're talking about. So let's dive into Rogue One. I'm interested that you said it's probably your second favorite film. I find that interesting. Overall, I think it's fair to say the tone of the film is much different. Talk about how it's different in the best way possible.
Okay, so we talked about it a little bit a few minutes ago. They set up all these characters. You're in love with all these characters, and one by one they pick them off, and they're picking off, your heartstrings. It's a very hard movie to sit through. It's I warned a couple of my sisters with their younger kids who love Star Wars that, hey, maybe this movie isn't for them at 6, or 8, depending on how they are with death or any of the scary things that happen. But to me, I think that's a good thing. I think, where there's conflict and where there's where hope doesn't seem like it's going to be enough, and they still were able to prevail, but they were completely like when that moment where you have Jyn and Cassian on the beach and they know what their fate is, and they're completely at peace with themselves because just like K2SO or Chirrut or Baze or anybody else, they knew what they were fighting for. They were more than willing to put their lives on the line for the rest of the galaxy, for what they believed in, for what they thought was right. And I think that just says so much in today, in this day and age, there's not a lot that anybody would really fight for like that. People are afraid to let people know how they feel about certain things. And I don't want to get political because I'm not a political guy. I hardly ever talk about politics, if ever. Same. But it's you want to see people have that kind of passion. And of course you don't want to see them in a situation where they have to give up their lives for everybody else. But I mean, that's like the dream that you would want to hopefully that you would be that kind of
it's beautiful, right?
That kind of hero. Yeah.
Sacrifice is the ultimate love. I mean, that's been told since the beginning of time. And there's just a beauty and a poignancy to how this film gives that texture. And I've said before, I think this is one of the first times that I feel like the wars in Star Wars is actually applicable.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was a great war film. Remember I was talking about if you just made this movie as something else, it would really still work really well. Mm-hmm. It was a great war movie. I mean, it's called Star Wars, but this was where there was a war. And, the other things that they did differently with this movie in good ways, it could have been, and some people didn't like it, but I bought it hook, line, and sinker. I loved it. To bring back Tarkin for the movie. I mean, Tarkin had to have been the bad guy for this movie, right? I mean, what else could have driven the movie along if it wasn't Tarkin?
I would have felt cheated if he wasn't a major player, honestly.
Yeah. And the fact that they just didn't find some actor to act like Tarkin, to act as Peter Cushing being Tarkin. I mean, they put so much time into that. And, you hear little rumors like it was just supposed to be a reflection of his face in the glass looking out at the Death Star, and then it became more than that. And so to take that chance on Tarkin, like within the first few minutes, like you're like, oh my God, like this is beautiful. But you could tell just by movements it wasn't a person. But by the time you get to scenes where he's behind everybody and still talking, like to me, it was like watching a movie with subtitles. Like it didn't bother me at all. Now, some people fixate on things like that, but it didn't. When I'm reading a subtitle movie, I forget that I'm watching a subtitle movie. It doesn't. After 10 minutes, it kind of just your brain shuts off that part of you, and you're able to just watch it and enjoy it. So that chance they took with Tarkin was really big for me. K2SO, letting him be funny, letting him be the way he was with Jin, letting him be so blunt and almost human. You know, I mean, when he was jealous about not being able to have his own blaster, you know, constantly when he says, you know, you completely surprised me. I don't remember the exact line.
Mm-hmm. I know what you're talking about.
But I mean, there's just the way the war and the Empire was tearing the galaxy apart. Like Saw Gerrera wasn't a rebel. He had his own kind of offshoot of a rebellion, and he was doing his own thing. But look how it tore him apart. Look how it tore apart families. Look how, I mean, it was a dark movie at times, and those deaths just kept adding on and adding on and adding on. And the other big thing for me that I really liked about this movie, you know, I'm a Vader fan.
Oh, I'm saving that for the end.
That's my thing, you know?
Yeah.
And
I got that as the last thing I want to ask you about.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll talk about that then. So what was your next question?
Because one of the first things I thought of when I saw it, I'm like, oh my gosh, Mike had to be in heaven. Those rebels weren't in heaven, that's for sure. So I just curiously, like from a structure standpoint, Star Wars, I feel like Star Wars is of course the ultimate modern mythology, but I think Rogue One gives it a texture and a vibrancy that not that it was lacking in the others, but this kind of gives me something I didn't know I wanted. I didn't know it was missing until I saw Rogue One. I mean, just from a story perspective, what kind of depth does it add to the Star Wars mythos for you?
I don't want to call the other movies hokey, but in that time and the way those movies were told, and we saw them as kids and we grew up around them, they weren't, again, I'm going to use the word scary or that dark. I mean, Empire was pretty dark, but they weren't over the top like that. It wasn't thrown in your face. And to say about texture and what Rogue One brings or was different is, and I guess I'm staying on the same thing. It's just the seriousness of it. There were some laughs here and there, but it was no joke. This is no joke. The Empire needs this weapon. I'm Krennic. I'm coming to take Galen, and I'm going to do this. And then Galen's wife, she gets killed, and then Jin has to run away, and they try to get her. And then you move forward. By the way, I loved how they did that. I loved how they had that opening scene and then went into the movie. I love that there wasn't an opening crawl, by the way. I absolutely love that. So yeah, I mean, just the seriousness of it. I mean, there's serious parts of Star Wars. There's tons of serious parts, but I guess the word hokey isn't really the right word, but it's not. It never felt, with the exception of the Vader reveal in Empire, it never felt completely, there is no hope. Everything's going to be terrible. There's never going to be anything better. Like, they had a very small chance of making this happen, and they made it happen again because of their sacrifices. But seriousness, the war, the seriousness, the death, I guess that's what I feel is what makes that stand apart from the other ones.
Yes, yeah, because like the cost, I think, is something. I mean, this is war, right? So there has to be cost. There has to be weight and depth. It adds a pathos to the story that just kind of grabs at your heartstrings, like you've been saying. And I've had some people say, well, couldn't at least one person have lived? And my response is typically, well, no, because obviously they're not in A New Hope, and they don't necessarily need to be in A New Hope to still be around. But it just adds so much gravitas and just weight to this thing. And I think another thing, Mike, that's really interesting about this story is that Rogue One actually has good and bad is not as clearly defined. I mean, there's a lot of grace.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of ambiguity. And that really has not happened in Star Wars. I mean, even Han Solo at his gruffest, there's no doubt that he's a good guy. So we've got a darker tone of the film. And previous films were dark to a degree, but this is a whole new level. So how do you think that's going to impact the franchise and storytelling from this point on?
I think of all the chances that they took with this movie to be able to apply those now to some of the other movies to like you said, to give it a little more texture. I think that I don't want them to overdo it. I don't want them to completely take the Star Wars out of Star Wars, if that makes sense.
Yes.
But I think that now
the fantasy needs to be there. It shouldn't all be heavy.
Yeah, I think that there were some decisions and some chances made, and now hopefully with other directors, I think it would be nice that they take some chances on their own. So you see things that you've never seen before. So we don't, even though I disagree with this statement completely, that Force Awakens was a remake of A New Hope.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear that anymore.
No, it's absurd. It's absurd.
It is absurd, but I don't want to hear it anymore. So when we see Episode 8, I don't want to hear, well, it's a remake of Empire Strikes Back. No, take chances, do some different things. It's a different world. The people that you're trying to bring into this franchise now, the younger crowd, I think that they can handle a little bit more than maybe we could back then.
Mm-hmm.
And, the world is a little bit more of a harsher place. And certainly I'm sounding like an old man now. And these kids with their newfangled internet, seeing all these things and
their Google machines.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's going to help. And to get back to what I was saying earlier about, that night I said it was my second favorite Star Wars movie. And here we are almost 2 months after seeing it. I've seen it a ton of times. Mm-hmm. It still is. I absolutely just every time I see it, I love it more. And a lot of it is because it's some things that we've never seen. And it just surprised me, Dan. I was excited to see the movie by the time it came out. Like I said, wasn't really on board in the beginning. I just was indifferent. It will probably be good. I'll definitely go see it. But then to completely pull the rug out from underneath everybody, like, people were expecting something cool, but not that. I mean, that movie was pretty damn cool.
Yeah, it just, like you said, I mean, I was definitely much more excited for The Force Awakens, and that whole experience was just much more, I don't know. It was just like a life moment, not just a film moment for me.
Yeah.
And Rogue One I enjoyed, but there was sort of a part of me that was like, I don't feel the same kind of pressure. You know what I mean? You know how we are as Star Wars fans. We almost have sort of this wonderful anxiety about taking this stuff in because it just means so much to us. So it was really cool. And I think that, and I have no inside information on this, of course, but I feel like every Star Wars story they're going to do is going to have a different tone, a different feel. And that's a good thing. It's kind of like the Marvel movies, but it just takes it to a different place.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I think that there's just so much that could be done. I'm so excited, Dan. I mean, there's so much good coming. And there's a lot of bad coming too. I mean, these movies aren't going to be, unicorns and bunnies. I mean, there's going to be
That's true.
There's going to be some darkness, but I mean, I look forward to. I mean, we're not that far away from Episode 8 now.
I know.
There's another Star Wars movie coming out this year, Dan.
I've heard that.
2017.
That.
Crazy.
Corey specifically asked me, and Corey unfortunately isn't able to be with us for this discussion segment because he and his family are getting ready to go to Walt Disney World. So we wish him nothing but safe travels.
Yes.
And there is one thing that he wanted me to ask you, and I'm going to ask you that. But first, I'm just going to say the words, and we talked about it earlier. Darth Vader, go.
All right. So you want to see Darth Vader in the movie, and you worry about how much Vader you're going to get. And the way they had Tarkin drive this movie, like I was saying earlier, it needed to be done that way. And I loved how they did it that way. They used Vader in a few very powerful moments, even though some people didn't like the "don't choke on your aspirations" line.
I liked it.
I thought that was great. I got the perfect amount. If you were making a recipe for a Star Wars movie in this time with these characters and this story, they put the perfect amount of Darth Vader. I don't need to see Darth Vader in Star Wars again because this movie gave me the Vader that we've always been led to believe that he was. We've never really got to see the animal that he was in this movie. And the Death Star plans get away. You know they do because you've seen A New Hope and you've seen the rest of the other movies. When he's in that hallway and that lightsaber lights up and the panic and the terror of all these soldiers trying to get away from this mad dog, he's unleashed. Tarkin unleashes him on them. And you're holding on to the arms of your seat, and you're almost out of your seat, and you're losing your mind, and you're just saying, just get it through the door. Just get it through the door. And I mean, Dan, the way he throws somebody up into the ceiling and does a backslash and cuts him in half, and just that whole amazing. If I could have just that scene, I actually do have it that somebody sent me. It's from a cell phone, which I don't condemn. I mean, condone. I condemn them. I don't condone it. But I do have that, and I do watch it over and over again. But if I had a high def of it that I could just put on my work screen and just have that play in a loop over and over and over again, I'd be a very, very happy person. It was just incredible. So you have James Earl Jones's voice, you have the Vader that you've always heard about, and it was just done perfectly well. And to think that they get these data tapes off, you know that they get to Leia, you know what happens next. There's not a lot of time ticking by in that moment, and for Han and Luke and Obi-Wan just to take them right back to the Death Star after all the loss and all the sadness and everything that they went through to get them out of Scarif. You have to laugh, like these rubes. I mean, really.
The irony, that Vader scene is, and I've seen the movie a couple of times in the theater, of course, and even though I know it's coming, I feel like I did the very first time I saw it, and I kid you not, Mike, my jaw was just wide open, and I was just clutching the armrests, and I kept thinking to these people, these actors who weren't actors in that moment. They were flat out rebel heroes trying to do something incredibly heroic against a nightmare they can't even imagine exists, and you're just screaming, "Run! Get out of there!" It's like the most intense tossing of the baton you'll ever see. And it's wonderful, and it's frightening, and it's Vader, like you said, as we've always wanted him to be. And it's amazing. We saw glimpses of that, not glimpses. We saw a lot of that in Rebels, but let's be fair. We love Rebels. It's fantastic. It's one of the best parts of Star Wars, but more people have seen Rogue One than have seen those episodes of Rebels. That's just a numbers game.
Yeah, it's a shame. I hope they go back and see it, because Vader in Rebels is great.
Oh, he's stunning. When we saw that in Anaheim, that premiere with him fighting Kanan Ezra was amazing. But this, just think about like our kids growing up, right? And this is the Vader that they see. It'll be interesting to see how they look at him in A New Hope if they see Rogue One first. But I guess, we'll let history tell that.
I would imagine, and I've had this conversation with a couple of people now, I would imagine that kids only seeing Rogue One and then going on to see A New Hope and Empire, that they're gonna catch on real quick that he's a softer Vader because of Luke. He became a softer person just because of that, even if it wasn't his intention. He found out that he has a son. That changes people. I don't care if they're the Sith Lord or if they're just the guy down on the corner buying an Eskimo pie at the grocery store. I did want to say one other thing about that scene. Perfect. It's probably my favorite scene ever in anything. It's amazing. A couple of times that I went to go see the movie, I wanted to watch the scene so bad, but just for my morbid curiosity or just the human element of it, like when Anya when I took her for the first time, I wanted to watch her reaction. And when I took my mom and dad, I wanted to watch their reaction, Ariana's reaction to it. Some other friends that I went with, I wanted to see how they reacted and how their faces looked. And how you were talking how you felt, and I talked about how I felt. These are people that like Star Wars, and they know all about Darth Vader and everybody else. Anya probably, of all the people I mentioned, Anya probably knows more about Star Wars than any of them. But to see their faces, and they don't have to be, their lives don't have to be completely consumed by Star Wars or that galaxy. It really says a lot for how they filmed that scene, how it was written, how it was performed. And I haven't come across anybody yet that had any kind of problem with that scene. And you see, I didn't expect Rogue One to be winning every Oscar this year, but to see that movie only get 2, one for sound and one for special effects, was it? Something like that?
Something like, yes, two for sure.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing. I think I know I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I think like I said, I'm not an idiot. I don't think they should win everything, but my point is to watch next time you go see the movie. And this isn't just to you; it's to anybody. Just watch. You've already seen it. Watch the person you're with. Watch that scene for the first time. Their face is just amazing.
I did a similar thing. Like I went with, of course, Corey and a lot of my good friends and the two older boys first time, and that was just your eyes are literally glued to the screen. And then the next time I took my father-in-law on Christmas night, and he's not, he's just a man of the world. He's seen a lot of amazing things. He's not really a Star Wars fan. He's just a great man. And when it was over, I looked at him and he said, I don't know really much about Star Wars, and I thought I was going to be confused, but I can't imagine how anyone cannot love that movie. And I said, what do you think about Darth Vader? He goes, boy, that Darth Vader's a mean SOB, isn't he? it was just so fun. You know what I mean? It's just super cool to sort of experience that because it's amazing. Before we let you go, Galen Erso is someone that I think is an amazing character that people love. For me, and I've said this on the show a couple times and on our after show, but as much as I like her, I don't feel like she got enough to do. And I realize it's an ensemble cast, and I realize that while it's her story, it's really about the rebellion in a bunch of people thrown together to do something for no glory. But how do you feel about her?
I'm going to quickly go back to one of your earlier questions about who I got to see out at the premiere. I actually ran into her physically, and I was at the theater. I was walking; it was packed, and I actually bumped into her. I didn't mean to, and I was kind of overwhelmed, and I didn't really get to speak English to her. There was some mumbling of inaudible words that came out of my mouth, and I felt silly, and then I went back to my seat. How do I feel about her in the movie?
I'm not talking about her performance. Her performance is
No,
great.
I know you're talking. Yeah, I know about the character itself.
I think I wanted Rey. I think that's my problem. And I guess Rey is just a diamond in the rough.
I don't think that Rey would work in that. I don't think that.
No, I just mean the power of her, like the well-rounded nature of her and her impact on the franchise. She's just Rey is transcendent.
You said that it was it's an ensemble cast. Rey is just so strong, just in so many ways. But Jin has gone through, who knows, maybe more than Rey, maybe less than Rey. I mean, who really knows? But I think if there would have been too much, would we have lost a lot of the Chirrut base story, which is really incredible. Would that whole Saw Gerrera scene be more or less impactful? How she is with her father when he's dying. Like, to me personally, I think we got just enough. I think if her character would have been completely overwhelming, and you know me, I'm all about inclusion in Star Wars. I love that we've been getting these strong female leads in the movies. They've been doing an amazing job. I would actually prefer that. I think it's amazing. I just think that her any stronger, if she was in some really crazy 15-minute long fight scene where, like, if you watch the TV show Vikings, how the Viking ladies are going around and fighting and killing these guys that are 5 times their size and stuff. I just maybe think it would have taken too much off of the focus of the movie itself and what's happening in the background and what's happening as the time's going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's fair.
But but I see what you're saying. I mean, you see Rey and you see how how strong of a character she is, but I'm going to go to bed tonight and I bet you I dream Rey being in Rogue One, and maybe it will work, but I don't know. I don't know if it would. I don't know.
No, it wouldn't work because it's just a different thing. I mean, obviously time-wise, chronologically, it's way different. I'm just saying, I guess Rey is more well-rounded, and I think she has a stronger arc than Jin's. And, I mean, not everybody has to be the same. And then that's fine. There's
a lot more on the horizon for Rey than there is for Jin. Unfortunately.
That's very true. That's very true. So we will see. Before we let you go, as I mentioned, Corey had one thing he wanted me to ask you before you and I signed off for the evening, and he wants to know your thoughts on the title of Episode 8.
So in a perfect world, not really trying to not know anything about Episode 8, I have hopes. I have hopes that Episode 8 is just as amazing as Episode 5. The Last Jedi. I mean, what's the plural of Jedis? Is it Jedis or is it just Jedi?
It's both.
Yeah. So I mean, it could be taken many ways. So I hope that we don't go into the movie. I want to know either way, to be honest with you. But it could go either way. It could be the last Jedis that are going to be, but it might be a few. It may mean that it's just Rey left, or maybe Rey isn't left, and you know what I mean. There's so many things that it could go. But in a perfect world, like I was saying, kind of half joking, it should be called the Knights of Ren Strike Back. I mean, that would be a pretty cool title to me. But I'm okay with it. And there's a lot of other people complaining about the color of that color red that they're using and why they're using that, and just a bunch of different other. How people right away they come up with all these conspiracy theories and these speculations that are kind of ridiculous. Like it was announced, I saw it, I said, "Huh."
That's kind of my reaction too. Yeah.
The Last Jedi. Okay. And then 1,000 people texted me, and I'm like, "Huh? I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. I don't.
It doesn't blow me away, but I mean, The Force Awakens that blew me away because it just felt
that's a strong title.
It was strong, and it sort of was. It was sort of meta because it kind of typified us as fans and how this whole Disney thing awakened all of us. You know what I mean? And this just sounds nice. It's like, oh, okay. It kind of reminds me of how when I heard Attack of the Clones, I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to be about the Clone Wars. Okay.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
Well, first of all, please tell Corey when you talk to him next that I did miss him. I'm sorry we didn't get to talk tonight, but his reasonings for not being here are amazing. And I just, I think strong title names, Revenge of the Sith, that's great. That's a great title. Empire Strikes Back is great. Revenge of the Jedi would have been a great title name, but Return of the Jedi is okay. Phantom Menace, that could be taken several ways. Force Awakens is just a really, in all of us, just at that time, we haven't seen Star Wars in so long, and we're getting a new Star Wars movie, and the Force is on away, the Force is going to sleep, and now the Force Awakens. I think that was a great title name.
I agree. I honestly think that the more I reflect on it, the more I think the Force Awakens is almost a perfect Star Wars movie.
I don't really. It's when I saw Force Awakens and I've seen it a million times and I've watched it at home a billion times. There's just some things about Rogue One that's a little darker, a little bit more than we've ever seen, and that's why I put that so high up on the list. And the fact that it completely surprised me. I did not expect to leave that theater knowing and seeing the things I did, and I just to completely blow me away. Right there, they deserve me to say that.
Oh, I agree, man. It was an amazing experience. I'm so glad that just as your friend and just knowing what a fan you are, you got that experience. Nobody deserves it more. So hats off to you, man.
Well, thank you.
You bet. Tell me, what's coming up on Flow Sith that we can look forward to?
So we have our anniversary show coming up very soon. I think this weekend, maybe. Yeah. I think that's right. So hopefully we'll have some good people on the show for our anniversary show like we typically do. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge if you listen to the old ones. And we have there's been a lot of travel for Brian with his the Disney cruise that he was on. Which
I know. I'm jealous of him now even more than usual.
Yeah, that sounded really cool. And he got to, being able to hang out and talk to Chris Taylor the whole time and seeing Ashley Eckstein and all the things that he's taking his kids on that and having a good time. That seemed amazing. But he's been traveling a lot. And Holly, who is now wonderfully on our show. It was really, really heartbreaking to see Amy go, but she let us know a while. There was a lot of time to, to prepare ourselves and Amy will be back from time to time, but sure. I'm excited that Holly's on the show. There's Holly Fry is a great Star Wars fan. She has a really great insight, and she thinks differently than a lot of other people. So I love hearing her talk Star Wars. So with her getting back from her Star Wars marathons that she did out at Disneyland, we have a lot to talk about. I think one of the things I'd like to do the most, we'll have our anniversary show this upcoming weekend, and I hope the very next weekend we're going to have a real sit down chat about the first few episodes of Rebels the second half of the season to talk about, because there's some stuff going on, Dan.
Yes,
and so definitely want to sit down and talk about that. I'd like to have another listener feedback show where we have our voicemails and our emails, because sometimes it's amazing the emails and the theories and the questions that people send in and share with us, that just it's really cool to just sit back and actually talk about what they want to hear, what they're submitting. So, and then I think we're going to be talking about another book, one of the upcoming books again soon too. So there's a lot going on. What's coming with you guys?
Oh man, well, a lot of stuff's coming up with us for sure, and that's going to be coming soon. We're definitely gearing up for celebration. You know what I mean? A celebration is just going to be that's like the Super Bowl, really. I mean, obviously the movies are something else, but celebration is just like euphoric in a way that you can't even describe unless you're there.
And have such a good time.
It's going to be great, and I look forward to hanging out with you like we did last time, if not even more.
We talked about, behind the curtains. We'll let people listen in on this. We talked again about having having the Coffee with Kenobi and Full of Sith, sit down listener time. So we're definitely going to do that again, and we'll get that information out after we hash it out. It's going to be fun. I had so much fun last time. It was so great.
One of the highlights was, the first day you and I and Corey we did our thing, man. We went all over the place, and it was pretty killer. You helped us so much with the podcast stage, helped us form this show, everything, and we never can thank you enough, and just appreciate everything you do, not only for our show but just for Star Wars fans and Star Wars in general.
Well, thank you. But you guys do great things too, and I always like seeing nice tweets and posts and stuff online about everybody talking about Coffee with Kenobi. You guys are doing a great job, so keep it up.
Well, thank you, sir. We shall. And tell us, everyone, where they can get in touch with you if they want to ask you a question or just say hello.
Well, you can find me on pretty much every social media platform as just the Mike, THAMIKE. Well, you can go to that website, themike.com or mikepilot.com, and I can be found those places. If you're interested in more of the things I've done, then my website has all that stuff. So, and I've been, just real quick. I know we want to wrap up, but I don't know what with social media now. Like, is there any need for a website anymore? Because people don't really even go to websites anymore. It's kind of strange, don't you think?
Yeah, it's all sort of like the quick hits.
Yeah,
yeah, I know what you're saying. I do.
Again, I'm sound like an old man. Back in my day, we had web pages on GeoCities. But thanks for having me on, Dan. I appreciate it. Oh, by the way, I also want to thank Dan. Everybody listen to how good of a guy Dan is. Dan asked me to do this, like 2 weeks ago when we were talking about this?
Something like that.
And I came down with a really, really bad cold, which turned into walking pneumonia, which turned into I wasn't supposed to do anything, and I didn't have a voice. And Dan has been patiently waiting for me to get my voice back and feel a little bit better. And I appreciate that because I didn't want to miss out on talking to you.
No, hey, man, you are definitely worth the wait. And we are so glad that you're feeling better and back to doing your thing, brother. So we look forward to seeing you at Celebration. And thank you again so much for coming back on the show.
Anytime, Dan. And bye, Corey.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first.
Our topic for show number 64 is the role of the anti-hero in Star Wars. Rogue One brought us a new batch of heroes who do good in unconventional ways, as did the Clone Wars and Rebels. Now, what makes these heroes unique, and what is it about them that draws us in? Joining us on this topic is fan favorite in Star Wars, I'm going to say it, legend Concetta Parker. Be sure to send us an email or an MP3 with your thoughts, comments, questions, and opinions of anti-heroes in Star Wars to feedback@coffeewithkenobi.com.
I like the sound of that.
Echo 3 to Echo 7. Hano, buddy, do you read me?
I saw part of the message.
I seem to have found it.
Looks like we're back, Corey, with we've got quite a few more listener emails than we have of late, and we are very excited. We're going to share a couple of them with you right now, and the first one comes with our feature blogger on Coffee with Kenobi, longtime family member and friend of the show. That would be Melinda Wolf, and she writes. Well, she wrote a lot, and we're narrowing it down a little bit at her request, and this is what she said. I was tickled to see Jimmy Smits come out of the shadows and appear as Bail Organa, as well as seeing characters like the pair over running with Obi-Wan in the cantina on Tatooine show up. And once again, having a run-in with Jyn and Captain Andor. Goal leader, Biggs, identified by his helmet. I didn't even think about that.
Oh, interesting.
C-3PO and R2, Carrie Fisher's voice for, is it Ingvidalia?
Ingvidalia? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, my mistake. My apologies if I've mispronounced it. But no one was more exciting. No one tickled me more than seeing the incomparable Peter Cushing's Grand Moff Tarkin appear near the film. Pulling footage from A New Hope was genius on Gareth Edwards' part. Left an indelible impression on me. I don't know how other fans felt, but I loved it. Well, I can't think of Star Wars without thinking immediately of John Williams' incredible score that swept me away on adventure after adventure. I have to give credit where credit is due. Michael Giacchino should be proud of what he lent to the world of Star Wars. I'm looking forward to adding his soundtrack to my Star Wars music library. Am I gushing too much? Just like that, there's a light side and a dark side to most everything. To preface, I recall hearing a snippet of an interview with Gareth Edwards where he talked about bringing something new to the table. Although I didn't say this to anyone because I prefer to hold such cards close to my chest, I thought Edwards' way of inferring the likelihood that not all principal characters would survive was interesting. Quite frankly, it would make for a more realistic story if some of them lost their lives during their quest. But all of them? I'm a light-sided Rebel Alliance sympathizer through and through. Do they all have to lose their lives? I would like to have seen at least one of them survive, make it back to space, and escape with his or her life, but that's just me. I think it adds more to a story, even one that we all know is not going to continue with those particular characters, to have a lone survivor from the principal ensemble. Yes, we all know the rebellion continues and others fight the good fight. In my opinion, it adds more strength to a story to have someone we, the moviegoer or readers, care about survive, even if we never see that character again. If I was telling the story, Melinda writes, it would have been Baze or Bodhi. Did the fact that no one from that cadre of 6 survived detract anything from the story for me? Ultimately, no. Rogue One is but one more chapter in a long line of chapters that add their own individual flair to Star Wars, told from one person's group's perspectives. That's okay with me. Thanks, Dan and Corey, for letting me spout today. It's been months since I inundated you with my impressions of your podcast. I have been listening, and your questions and topics for which you ask your listeners' input. It's time I got back in the game, at least from time to time. I hope you both have a very happy holiday with your families. Take care, and as always, may the Force be with you. Melinda, thank you as always for your charm, your generosity that it truly knows no bounds. And she brings up something interesting about what happens to the characters. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's cool because a lot of folks that I've talked to, just casual fans or hardcore fans of Star Wars and going and seeing this film, they want to see some of these characters continue on because I think they kind of hit you right in the heart, and because you see what their mission is and you're like, I want to see what happens next. I want to see what happens with with their story and who they are, where they come from, and learn more about them. And I think that's so great. And she brings a lot of good points. If the one was to live on, would we continue to see them? And I don't know. It's almost like they're handing the baton in my perspective, as far as, and that's how the film goes. I think Gareth Edwards does a great job of doing that, handing baton from Rogue One to A New Hope, and we move on to a batch of a whole new group of characters that we all know and love. But this sets the stage. This is what it's meant to do. And we can still continue to love these characters and kind of, collect their items and still love them. I still love a lot of them and still kind of coming to grips of, what their characters meant for the film. For them to live on, they just weren't meant to. And I'm okay with that as a fan. Because, like I said, it pushed the story forward and made for a richer story moving ahead.
Yeah, I mean, and I totally respect and completely sympathize with what she's saying.
Yeah.
I would have been the opposite. If they would have survived, I would have been disappointed. It's not because I don't love those characters, but I think it's a problem in storytelling. If there's no cost, then where's the peril? Where's the risk?
Sure.
Where's the suspense? They think they had to, because I think that shows more love and more sacrifice. And something I've been thinking about recently, although in Jason Fry's novel that came out about a year ago, Weapon of a Jedi, I believe it was called, Princess Leia talks about how there were some heroes who helped bringing about the destruction of the Death Star that she always admires. And she's obviously talking about the characters from Rogue One, which is super cool. But that's not the thing that gets me. The thing that I was thinking about is really none of them survive, and they send out a transmission. But really, who would know what happened to them individually? It's not like anyone survived that could tell.
Sure.
And then Scarif was destroyed. At least that part was destroyed. So really, it's conceivable that no one actually knows what happened, which I think makes it even more beautiful and emotional and just ultimate love. Completely selfless against insurmountable odds, arguably even more insurmountable than what Luke and Han and Leia went through, because Luke is, he's the one who helps Vader bring balance to the Force. He's a Jedi Knight, maybe the most powerful that ever was. So it just makes it even more impressive to me. Again, not that I don't love these characters, but I don't see how it could have gone any other way and not had the same kind of punch to your soul in a very beautiful pathos way.
Our next email comes from Ryder Waldron. Obviously, Ryder is a great blogger for us and a great friend of ours from the show. And he writes, "Hey guys, I loved how Rogue One tied into A New Hope, but also how well it connected to Return of the Jedi. I had often wondered why it took the Empire nearly 20 years to build the first Death Star, but just a few years to build the second Death Star. Rogue One and Catalyst explained that it was the completion of the laser that took so long to build the first Death Star. After building the first, they had the laser plans, so the second didn't take nearly as long. Also, a complaint I have heard from Star Wars fans, diehard and casual, is that the Empire was foolish to build a second Death Star after the Rebel Alliance blew up the first. After seeing Rogue One, it makes perfect sense why the Empire built a second. Galen Erso had set a trap in the first Death Star. It makes sense that the Empire would build a second, bigger Death Star after realizing the mistake they had made by letting an outsider help make the weapon. Without the built-in trap, the Empire thought that the second Death Star would be impenetrable. Thanks for the time, guys." And that's from Ryder Waldron. Wow, Ryder, it's something that I came across too. The plans of the Death Star, where those live. They have those copies layered up in a cloud somewhere, and do they have those elsewhere? And they blew up the planet there, Jeddah, and is that the only is that all the Empire plans that they blew up? Are there more floating out there? And this is cool because I hadn't thought about this. I mean, to think about why would you build a second Death Star that we know is going to blow up? Obviously, we have the answer now. I mean, it makes total sense to me that obviously there was an insider planning, to undo them. So, and this is we're just going to make a new Death Star and continue on. Obviously, we see what happens in Return of the Jedi, but this is an interesting thought process. Dan, what do you think?
I think Ryder is awesome. And as far
Absolutely.
as this goes, yeah, for sure, man. And you be sure to check out Idiots Array, Ryder's awesome podcast too,
yeah.
with Mark Suter, among the other wonderful gents on that show. The thing about this, it doesn't bother me, is it makes sense that, and we don't know fully the construction of the second Death Star, how that came about, and maybe it'll be touched on at some point. I don't think it's incredibly pressing because we're sort of marinating in the joy of sort of seeing how this first one came together through Rogue One and Catalyst. But it makes total sense to me why they would build a second one, because this is the absolute hubris and ego of the narcissistic Empire, particularly coming down from Palpatine. So of course he thinks he can build a bigger, better one, because it's all about, in their mind, might makes right in trying to build a bigger fly swatter for the rebellion, even though besides, Jyn Erso and her crew, then you've got Luke and his band, two major victories in a row from a burgeoning Rebel Alliance. So, of course, the Emperor's going to build more because he thinks he can just take care of everything with an even bigger, more powerful thing. Now, we do see that brought together even more fully through The Force Awakens, and I've certainly been out there and said that I didn't like that particular angle as much. But as far as the original trilogy goes, and I'm sure there are a lot of, I know when Lucas was making Return of the Jedi, I know there was a little bit of push back on, you sure you want to do another Death Star? But when you look back on it, I think it makes sense because, again, the Emperor thinks he knows better. Your insignificant band of, I'm sure that,
Right.
the lines
right.
the Emperor says, yeah.
Well, right. I mean, they say his ego is in check there. I mean, like, he's just so sure of himself that he's like, well, there's no big deal. I mean, I'll just make another one. And it'll be bigger, it'll be better, and more powerful, and we'll just wipe everybody out. And they almost do. And it's like, what is interesting to me that Ryder brings up, like, maybe they had to have their faults, I guess, for making the first one. And they're like, okay, well, we know what we did wrong the first time. We'll do it better the second time, and no one's going to stop us. They have that mindset that, like, they're just all powerful, and they have been all powerful for these, numerous of years, and nobody's really come against them. So, I mean, and the other thing too is, like, we think about is these small band of rebels that are fighting to make a difference. You think about, oh yeah, they won in the end, but they barely won. I mean, it was like the odds were stacked against them. The huge might of the Empire. They had one shot and took it. Just like we see in Rogue One, they took one shot. We've got to do what we got to do to make
it was
a
1 in a
difference.
million.
Yeah, 1 in a million. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, like, why not take this chance? Because if we don't take this chance, it's going to get worse. I mean, the rebels knew that if we didn't do something now, or use this information to the best of our ability, it's going to come down worse. I mean, we've seen what has happened in the last 20, 30 years, and we can't, there's nothing else we can do besides take this shot.
Right. So, Ryder, I appreciate your thoughts. I look forward to chatting with you about this more celebration. Everybody else, let us know, is this an example of ego? Is this maybe storytelling that didn't work as well as you would have liked? Let us know. Our next email comes all the way from France, from Natasha O'Shaughnessy. And Natasha writes, hello to all of you at Coffee with Kenobi. Thank you for the Leia Memorial show. Her passing has been quite an emotional issue for us. We're still talking it through. It's interesting to dissect feelings about Leia, as I saw Rogue One twice before she died, and yesterday I saw Rogue One in 3D in French. I was not overly crazy about her CGI part, and personally, if I ruled the Star Wars galaxy, I would have shown her back and perhaps being joined by R2 and 3PO looking out into space. Yesterday's viewing, though, had sent me a tear. I saw A New Hope as a 10-year-old in a drive-in when it finally came to our corner of Africa. My mom got us the LP with the picture book, and that's how we saw Star Wars for the first time, so it was a big deal to see it for real. I have to honor Leia for playing her part in my own development. I later went on to join the military and then became a firefighter and officer, and I cannot help but think that Leia served as a role model. I'm reading Catalyst now, as I stated, for after seeing the movie, and I'm really getting into it. I'm planning my next viewing already. Now, a few notes, random notes to throw into the pot. I laughed about you, K2, and adding the SO4. I did the same thing. His death really affected me. It was really well done. Now on to a few points, small things. I want the crawl, I want the crawl, I want the crawl. Stomp, stomp, jump up and down. I love the Easter eggs, and there are so many more check that out moments. I am so happy that Chopper made it, by the way. I think the Easter eggs are fun. The characters are just super, all of them. I want to know more about them. Each one touches the heart, and I guess we can relate to them. It also shows how ordinary people can do amazing things. I could not wait to see the scene with the takeoff in Rogue One, David and Goliath moment. Vader. I loved his castle and want to go back real soon. It was just perfect. The end scene was just fantastic. The desperate passing of the data card and Darth Vader was just kick butt. I'm going to use the word butt here. I do wish they kept his mask the same as A New Hope, then I figured that maybe he has a few outfits, and possibly this was his Monday suit. The score was fantastic. I know.
Thought about that.
Clever.
Oh, that's good.
The score was fantastic. Musically, it was very clever. It's stirring and has the gravitas as opposed to the floating cathedral tone of the other movies. Fantastic, beautiful music. Lastly, Tarkin in 3D was scary and so good. He really got me in the first viewing, but man, he was well done. It was so gutsy to do. May the force be with you. And again, that's Natasha O'Shaughnessy from France. Thank you, Natasha, for sending in and for being a part of our Coffee with Kenobi family. We love and appreciate your feedback, as we do from everyone who writes in and sends us MP3s or their thoughts anywhere. on our webpage, social media, what have you. And she had some fun thoughts. And it's pretty cool how, look what it did for her. She was in the military, and Leia was a big role for that. And we appreciate your props on the Leia show. We've gotten a lot of good feedback on that. And it was a hard show to do. And it's something and we never really thought we would have to do or that would ever come up. But we appreciate it. We hope it's cathartic for everyone.
Yeah, it's great to see fans write in again, like you said, and just be affected by so much of what's going on in Star Wars universe, whether it be shifts in the industry or the films and whatnot. And it's cool to see people talk about what they loved about the films too. And I think it's so cool to see that we're getting new films and new material to talk about. Brand new moments, brand new happy, exciting things we're maybe not so great about. And she mentions the crawl of not having it in Rogue One, and that's something a lot of people have debated about. And I've just come to grips of some of those things that are quote unquote Star Wars centric things, like the John Williams score. And I've come to grips with the fact that it's a different film, and there's the way they're going to go with it. And I'm kind of settled on that. And would they put a crawl in another spinoff movie? Maybe if it works. I'm not the creative team. I think they know what they're doing. But like you said, again, the Easter eggs are excellent. I agree. The Vader's castle was so cool. So we're seeing great Easter eggs from other films, but yet we're seeing brand new stuff that really knock our socks off as far as the 3D and the technology. I think seeing a lot of that stuff is really awesome. I think they're really pushing the envelope as far as taking these visual moments to us and what's possible in movie making, and putting them out there for fans to eat up and kind of digest and how we like those things. And again, I think Lucasfilm and Disney are just taking that step forward and pushing those limits as far as characters, diversity, and some of the great things we love from Star Wars and just feeding us so well. So I can't wait for more coming down the line for this year. And thanks again for writing in, Natasha, and may the Force be with you.
Chewie, get us out of here!
That's it for show number 63 of Coffee with Kenobi. A huge thank you to the Mike Pilot for being our guest and discussing how Rogue One ties into Star Wars mythology. Be sure to listen to Full Sith each and every week for more of Mike's perspective.
We couldn't do any of this without Jason Hall, Dennis Keithley, Angela Souse, Mediocre Jedi, Adam Leonard, Christopher Ripley, Swara Salih, Jared Cantor, BJ Smith, Eric Struthers, Nick DiCo, Aaron Harris, Mark Suter, and Mike Audette for their contributions to our Coffee with Kenobi Patreon page. Be sure to check out our webpage or the show notes for all the incredible perks and swag awaiting you as a Coffee with Kenobi Patreon contributor.
You can also help out the show through our Amazon.com. Go see Rogue One more time through our Fandango banner, and check out Cuffbooks.com, Her Universe, Zach Designs, Steiner Sports, Geek Fuel, and AC Worldwide affiliates links on our site. Be sure to check out our other shows in our Coffee with Kenobi family, Legends Library, Rebels Reactions, Comics with Kenobi, and Lattes with Leia, which are all here on the Coffee with Kenobi feed.
A big thanks to our media specialist Lisa Dullard, our Coffee with Kenobi bloggers, Nick DiCo, Jason Brame, everyone who contributed to this show, and to all of you out there who listen to and email Coffee with Kenobi. Don't forget to send us your comments and opinions on the topic for show number 64, The Anti-Hero in Star Wars.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
There's no one here. Move along.